your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Do good to them that hate you. And pray for them which despitefully use you and persecute you.
Which is the first commandment of all?
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy might, and with all thy strength. This is the first and great commandment, and the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. On these two commandments hang all the law and the prophets.
Master, thou hast said the truth. There is one God, and none other but He. And to love Him with all the heart, and with all the understanding, and with all the soul, and with all the strength, and to love his neighbor as himself, is more than all the whole burnt offerings and sacrifices.
Thou art not far from the kingdom of God.
And we're live. I am live. We're live because Roger's here. Hey, Roger. See you, man. Good to see you. And I've got Vicky in the background. You're probably here sleeping. She was awake earlier, but she's gone back to sleep. I thought she'd be awake now.
How's she feeling now?
You might hear her snoring in the background. I can hear Roger shouting something from the distance. Let's say hello to the guys in chat. To Derek Nelson, good morning, mate. Good morning, Roger. Hello. Ian Henry, hello. Well, and that's it. Derek Nelson, Ian Henry, and Roger. Yeah, what are you talking from a distance, are you, Roger? Because I can barely hear you now.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yeah, getting close. I got you on my big speakers. So.
Oh, is that what it is? Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So.
Does the show have good sound right now? I can't hear the show itself. So.
Yeah, the show. Well, I can't hear the show obviously because I have to have it on silent because if I don't have it on mute, then you hear the feed through. It's a pain in the butt. So yeah.
You get an echo.
Yeah, you get an echo, or a repeat. Then a woo and all that stuff. One of them.
Nice.
So. The plan didn't work out last time. I was planning showing the whole thing. It was an hour and 56 minutes long. We still got an hour and 6 minutes, an hour and 5 minutes of it. So I will try and keep my talking to a minimum and we'll try and get through it. So let's get straight into it. Sorry?
We're on the watch party, right?
We're on the watch party, yeah. That's what it was last time, but it didn't turn out that way. It still ended up at 3 hours long with just less than half of it watched. So I'll try and get through it. I mean, if I'm through it in less than an hour, if it's finished in an hour, then I'll put something else on. Yeah. So hopefully the plan was this time. Michael Kahn is probably asleep. Yeah, he's probably still asleep. He'll probably join us when he wakes up. I should be doing something with him this afternoon as well. Yesterday I was going to do in the morning, but then I thought, oh no, well I'm on with Michael today, so I'll leave my show until today and then do Michael's yesterday. But he ended up having something on as well, so none of them get done. So I think they're both getting done today. So I think me and Mike will be doing something on his channel this afternoon. He showed me the thumbnail already, so surely he'll be doing something this afternoon. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. But yeah, let's get this here. Oh, it's already up. I've already got it ready, haven't I?
Thank you.
There we go. This is where we left off. This is about a minute before we left off last time, or a few seconds actually. So we'll just get going from here, guys. I'll try and keep the talking to a minimum. But if you've got something to say, Roger, give us a shout.
I will.
Bless.
Understand what the Bible is trying to say and what we can learn from it. do what the Jewish rabbis did and do what theologians like Augustine and Anselm and so many others have done. They don't really do what you're doing, which is saying, hey, Luke must have talked to a guy who thought it happened over here, but in fact, this guy says the roof was thatched, but another guy says they let the guy in through the roof who had to be healed. Contradiction. Yep. And I'm like, is this your way of trying to say the Bible is not true?
See, to me, it's just things like that is just like they're from different people's perspectives. I think I said this last time. From different people's perspectives, not everybody sees it exactly the same way. Like I was saying the other day, I was saying like we could both see a car crash. I'm at one side of the road, he's at the other. We both see the same car crash, but we see different parts of it. We see it from different points of view.
So if you were like a good detective, you take all the stories, you put them together, and you come up with the truth.
Yeah, that's what you call inferring. Inferals instead of implications, instead of implying. We should be inferring rather than implying. You know what I mean? Absolutely.
Yes, it is. The Old Testament. Yes,
okay.
It's precisely what I'm doing. The Old Testament is not fully mythological. I think Genesis is mythological. I think that Exodus makes more of an attempt at history, but has mythological undertones. I think that the military conquests I mentioned in my opening statements are attempts at describing literal historical events. I think that the Psalms are poetry. I think that Job is mythology. I don't think a man called Job actually existed, right? And so there are lots of different genres here. The reason I'm asking about the contradictions in the Gospel, and I understand if you don't want to talk about the specific example of Egypt and Jerusalem, fine, whatever. Maybe you can send me an email about it later or something. That's fine. But the reason.
Mine too, Derek. Mine too. First one in the morning. I was awake at it's 8:15 here. I was awake at 7:30, but I drifted off again. Which I always set what do you call it, a snooze timer for. If I'm ever a couple minutes late, I won't ever miss an episode intentionally. If I miss it, it's by mistake, But in general, if I don't do the morning, I usually postpone it till the afternoon if I'm not going to do the morning. But I do try and get it done in the morning in general.
It's 1:14 in the morning here. So.
1:14, yeah, it's 7 hours difference.
I ain't been to bed yet. So.
Well, it's nearly that time. It's nearly that time.
These are my days. These are my days off, PJ. I'm off yesterday and today, and I'm watching the grandkids and helping the kids around their house all day. So.
Good. Yeah, he showed me pictures of them the other day. They're really cute.
And you get to be proud of Grandpa, Andrew.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
The reason I bring it up is to say that there are lots of these, and in each case, if we try to look at why they might be contradicting each other, the reasons I think we're given tell us that the history.
By the way, the slight interference here is not from me. It's from old Roger himself. It's all right, Roger. It's not like it's a buzzing or anything. You've got like a little, like a hissing, but it's tolerable. It's like the hissing you get when.
Oh, I hear it. Yeah, it's like wind.
Yeah.
I'll change my device. See what it does.
Like I say, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. What I did is I put you on mute to see if it was me, and it went away. So it was definitely you. I was just checking. Like if I do this, put you on mute. Yeah, it goes. Now you're on mute. It totally goes. But you took yourself off mute. You took yourself off mute. I didn't know you could do that. Unmute you. Now I just unmuted you.
Unmuted me?
Yeah, I unmuted. Oh, you can't. If you choose to mute, I can't mute you. I can't unmute you.
I'm gonna change my headphones. I think it's the speaker. I've never used it before, so.
Hang on, dude. Hang on. Like I said, it doesn't bother me that much. I was just checking to see if it was me or not. Because I thought with a new computer, it better not be me.
All right.
Don't worry, man. It doesn't even.
No worry. No worry.
Doesn't bother me.
It's easy to do.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Take a second.
Wait.
The historicity of this text should be in dispute. For example, I mentioned the date of Jesus' death. The Synoptic Gospels specifically place this after the Passover meal. They have the Last Supper as the Passover meal.
Okay.
John uniquely sets it before the Passover because he has the
Yeah, there's no buzzing now.
Good.
Yeah, all good.
theological purpose of wanting to depict Jesus as the Passover lamb. Now, this is a contradiction if the Gospels are supposed to be historical accounts of what happened to Jesus, which I imagine if we were having a debate about whether Christianity were true, about whether the God of the Bible existed, you might put forward, say, an argument for the resurrection of Jesus. You might say, well, we have good historical evidence to think that Jesus rose from the dead, and you might point to the story of the crucifixion and the disciples seeing him after he died. This is a common thread. The problem is that if we're treating it as historical in an area like that, then we have to engage with it as a historical text. Why would they contradict each other? I would say for the same reason that Luke...
Was you saying something, Roger?
No.
Oh, no, it must have been the guy yourself.
Luke contradicts Matthew in the birth narratives because they're attempting to make a theological point, which tells us at least, and maybe you think that the New Testament is an entirely theological and in no way a historical text. Would you agree at least that the New Testament writers are seemingly willing to adapt the historicity of an event in order to serve a theological point? Would you agree with that?
Yes and no. I would agree that...
Well, that definitely is a contradiction.
Well, it's not a contradiction because, well, I mean, Thucydides is...
Oh, sorry, Ian. I love ground coffee. Love ground coffee. It's not ground coffee I've got at the minute. It's instant, but I have got ground coffee in there. It's just because I had to make a coffee quickly because I was running late.
Well, sometimes I like instant coffee, like a Taster's Choice with like a powdered cream in it.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I love coffee. I was never a tea man. I can't drink tea. I drink tea when I get sick of coffee. But yeah, I'm not a tea drinker in general. I'm more of a coffee drinker.
Tell Vicky I said hi. I can hear her.
Yeah.
She's sawing logs.
Yeah, she's and that's not even her snoring loud. That's quite low.
Oh, I've been married for 17 years before, and my partner, she snores a lot.
Yes.
Louder than Vicky.
Yeah,
I'm used to it.
It happens, man. It happens.
You get to the point where you can sleep through it, you're good, dude.
Well, that's it. I don't sleep very well anyway. You know what I mean? So like, hence why I'm sometimes late for my 8 o'clock show because I haven't slept well. You know what I mean? Have you ever? Yeah, I've had Earl Grey. I think it gives you a slight lemony taste. I think when you have Earl Grey, it's an acquired taste. I think Earl Grey. I do like it.
I don't like it that much.
Yeah, I have had Earl Grey. I have had Earl Grey, definitely. But I'm not an Earl Grey person. No, it was it was a mate of mine. He was like my surrogate. Like he was like sort of my adopted father after my dad died. He was a guy down here. He's dead now as well. He kind of not looked after me, but you know what I mean. Looked after my welfare for a bit. You know what I mean. He helped me out and stuff. He died now. He's dead now. But
you like girl tea?
He liked Earl Grey. He liked Earl Grey a lot. Yeah. I was like, he let me try it. And to me, it was just like, it's just like tea, but with like a lemony tinge to it. I think maybe lemon's not the right word, but there's definitely a tinge of something to it.
They put some kind of flour in it, I think.
Yeah.
Like hibiscus, maybe.
Maybe it's that. I'm not sure, but yeah.
You ever drink the celestial seasoning stuff?
No.
Oh, we got it here in the States. They got some pretty good one. They got one called Morning Thunder. It's like 4 times the amount of caffeine in coffee.
Oh, okay. No, usually if it's ground, I usually like drink Lava Java. I think it's called by Taylor's. It's a Lava Java flavor coffee. It's like a 6 strength or something like that. 4 to 6 or something like that, and it goes up to 7. Yeah, pretty good.
My oldest girl, she's a barista.
Aye.
She went to Seattle and became a coffee master. So she learned how to make roast coffee. Like they roast it by hand.
Yeah. See, there is more caffeine in tea per pound. It's just more slowly released. So yeah, it feels like you're getting more from the coffee. But there is more caffeine in tea apparently per pound anyway.
Well, the greener the coffee, the more caffeine. But they don't. The longer they roast it, it takes more caffeine out. So the darker roast coffees don't have very little caffeine.
Yeah,
Like
the decaf coffees, even though they decaffeinate them, they can't get all the caffeine out. They're not decaffeinated. You know what I mean?
well, if you get like espresso, that doesn't have much caffeine in it at all.
No, it's just a quick shot.
And they use it more for a laxative, keeps your system clean. It flushes you out. Yeah.
Yes, I don't mind an espresso or not now and again. But, yeah, I like coffee, definitely. I like all different kinds, but I do like my coffee strongish. But I prefer milk in it. I'm not a black coffee drinker. I can drink it black, but Vicky drinks it black. She likes a tea with milk and a coffee black. And me, I like milk in both. I have sugar in coffee, but I don't have sugar in tea. I can't stand sugar in tea. It tastes like candy. Ugh.
I'll show you what I'm drinking right now. Here.
Go on.
All right. This is a Dutch Brothers. You see it?
Let me just put you in big screen.
It's a local coffee company out of Seattle. They're all over the place, but they make a good brew. This is what they call an annihilator. It's just like 4 shots of espresso.
Annihilator.
Light coffee, cream. Yeah,
Annihilator. Wiped you out.
I don't know where they come up with these names. The kids wondering, oh, it's the annihilator. Give me one. Yeah.
I like it, dude. Yeah, Derek says he can drink it black, but at least needs sugar in it. Yeah, no, I mean, in general, you think of Americans, they always drink black coffee in general, don't they? Straight after it's been percolated, straight out of the thing. But no, I like milk in it. I like milk in it, or cream, but cream get
that's
too
cowboy
sweet.
coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cream can get a bit sickly though after a while, so yeah, just milk's okay with me.
I like
But
the
I like
half.
it. What, half tea and half coffee?
No, half and half cream.
Oh, okay. I was going to say that would be called toffee or coffee. But people do that, you know. I've seen people doing that, having tea and coffee together. Like, that's silly. I actually knew someone that drank Tennant Super, which is 9% beer. I know the strong beers. At the same time as having a morning tea. I'm like, wow. Why would you do that? Drink your morning tea and a beer at the same time. How can you
Sounds
do that?
delicious.
It's horrible. I don't even like eating when I'm drinking. I haven't drank in a couple of years, but I don't even like eating when I'm drinking. I like eating after I've drank, but not during. I don't even like drinking anymore. You know, but I can drink, but I don't like.
When I was drinking last, I was doing what they call an IPA. Ever done? You know what IPA is, right?
What? Sorry.
IPA, Indian Pale Ale.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the whole idea was during World War I, they were shipping beer through India to the front for the soldiers, and they didn't have refrigerated cars, so the beer would spoil by the time it got there, and they liked it like that. So what they do, they let the beer sit, spoil, and then the alcohol content doubles, triples. So it was like it's 14 to 16% in the IPAs I was drinking. So like 4 or 5 beers, you can't even like walk straight, dude.
Wow. So they made their own fire water as well.
Oh yeah. My favorite one is called Mercenary there's a brewery here called Odell.
Okay.
Yeah, they're kind of local to like Arizona area. I get them for $3 or $4 a bottle. So like with $12, I could be lit for the rest of the night.
Oh, definitely.
I know.
Wow.
Then you pass out in the back of your truck.
Too right. Seeing if anybody else is still know. 6 watching, but about 4 in chat, ain't you?
All right. Let's get back to the video.
Let's do it.
Relaying historical events to make a moral point about the nature of politics, and both are completely consistent with each other. Sure. It's not as if Thucydides is, so he's a student of power politics. he is making a point. His speeches are driven at making a point, but the point is excavated out of the actual events. Now, I think that there's a reason that we're given 4 perspectival accounts of Jesus' life. And they're not identical. In fact, as I say, if they were identical, you wouldn't need 4. The point of reading these, and I think the way to read them. Let me say a word.
Sorry, Roger.
Yeah.
What did you say?
No, I didn't say anything.
You didn't say, every time this guy like sort of interrupts, I think it's you saying something.
Let him go.
If you want to determine veracity, you have to operate a little bit like a jury. And by that I mean, pick up the Gospel of Mark, the first of the Gospels. Now, by the way, these Gospels are written very proximate to the events they describe. And I say this by the standards of, we're talking about historicity of any historical document.
70 AD, would you say, for Mark?
Yes, I mean, I would say within decades of the events that they describe.
But
yes.
crucially, would you agree with most historians that this happened, for example, after the destruction of the Jerusalem temple, thereby allowing the author of Mark to put the prediction in the words of Jesus' mouth without being any...
Go on.
Yeah, I get it now. It almost sounds like I'm cutting you off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it sounds like you are like talking and trying to get a word in and try to tell me to stop over the top of him. It's mad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, anyways, I was going to say, the only thing that I got to say about like when they start touting a lot of history and like trying to question it, you got to get the validated part of history, what you can actually verify. And dates and times are the hardest thing in history.
Absolutely. I mean, we don't know. I mean, the amount of mistakes I've seen made in movies about historical things is unbelievable. But at the same time, I think to myself, well, history is not what it was made out to be anyway. So who's to say that them mistakes in the movies are actually mistakes? And what if it's actually, you know what I mean?
I get you.
Totally made up completely. But yeah.
Confusing as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, there was plenty of mistakes in Braveheart to do with Scotland and that. I mean, from the date of the Battle of Bannockburn to them wearing kilts. They would never have worn kilts 200 years later. You know, they never wore the blue paint. It was the pink Picts before the Scottish, they owned Pictland before Scotland. They had the blue paint. They wore the blue paint. The pagans. They were Christians. The ones in Braveheart times, they were Christian. You know what I mean? Under English rule, there was a Scottish king, but it was under English rule. So even the king of Scotland was subservient to England, I think, at that point.
The only time you guys wear kilts over in Scotland are during parades and special events, right?
Yeah, now weddings, I wore a kilt at my wedding when I first got married. That kind of thing. That's it. Golf. Some people wear it at golf. Some people actually in the Highlands that just wear them at the weekend to go game hunting and stuff. Prince Charles wore them game hunting. Prince Charles often wore a kilt, even though he's not Scottish. He wore a kilt now and again.
Any Welsh?
In the Highlands, that do wear them. Old-fashioned people will. We wear them as a thing to go out hunting and stuff with. But in general, it's weddings, stuff like that, events. Definitely.
I got a friend here. He wears his kilt daily.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Some people do, but in general, you don't see it.
I watched him cut the grass with it. All right, yeah. Hey, my neighbor.
Comfortable. They are comfortable and do let the breeze in and that, but it's not something I'd want to wear all the time. I mean, I think they do look smart, especially in weddings and stuff. They look brilliant. Kilts do.
Yeah.
But it's not something as a kid I was interested in. I thought, no, I'm not wearing a skirt. But when later on, when it comes to weddings and stuff, you think, oh, why not be traditional? It's not like you wear it the whole day. You wear it at the wedding, then you change into your trousers for dancing about at the reception. Well, I did anyway. Well, no, I didn't. I didn't. Sorry, that's what I should have done. That's what I wanted to do, but I didn't.
My grandmother was a seamstress, and she would make kilts and clogs
Aye.
for the local and
Aye.
folk dance.
Aye. Chilling says I have a full kilt. Costs a fortune. Aye, Chilling. They do my tartan, the Cruikshank tartan, which is under Stuart of Athol. Stuart of Athol. It sounds like a Scotsman saying asshole with a lisp. Stuart of Athol. That's my tartan. Cruikshank is under Stuart. It's actually in the corner. It's my logo. That colour there, that colour there. That's the Stuart tartan, and that's my tartan. That's
right. Red and green.
Yeah, red and green. That's why it's there. It's more of a reddy colour. But there's different types of Stuart red tartan, but in general, it's a red tartan. So, I mean, but on my wedding, I didn't wear the red tartan. I didn't even know that was my tartan at the time. I wore a purple tartan. I wore the Braveheart tartan. And Bonnie Prince Charlie jacket. But I was measured for it 3 weeks before I got married, and 3 weeks come to my wedding day. 3 weeks after, obviously, I was measured and everything for it. But 3 weeks after, I was on drugs at the time, and 3 weeks after, when I got married, it was way too big for me. Way too big.
That brings up a question for me. I wonder how many people Mel Gibson pissed off in that movie.
Probably, I don't know. A lot of Scottish love that film. A lot of Scottish don't know their own history either. You know what I mean? I mean, I can't tell you exactly when the battles and that were. I do know when they portrayed the Battle of Bannockburn. I think they were a year out on the movie, something like that. I can't remember. I don't know the dates now. I know bits of the history and that, obviously, but not a lot of Scottish people do know their history. The older people do. Your generation, not so much. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It was a bit more sacred to people. It was a bit more sentimental to people. History. The older generation, you go back. The younger generation don't seem to have sentimentality and stuff like that. You know. Aye. Near bother, man. Near bother. Right, let's God you go.
Thing miraculous.
This is a highly debated point because Mark's gospel leaves off incomplete and has what seems to be at the very end an added section. I don't want to debate that.
Right before he goes on, it's another thing he just said about Mark's gospel. It's another thing. I mean, I always knew, well, not always, but when I started learning a bit of the four gospels, that Luke was a physician. He wasn't a disciple. But it's only like in the past year or so that I've realized that Mark wasn't a disciple either. Mark wasn't a disciple either. He was another, obviously a witness, but not a disciple of Jesus. It was only two. It was only Matthew and John. I always used to think, to begin with, I always used to think they were all disciples. Then when I started reading about it, I thought, hold on, Luke's not a disciple. His name's not mentioned there. But I never even thought Mark, but Luke, yeah. I always kind of knew that he was a physician.
Which one was a tax collector again? That's what I want to know.
Matthew was the tax collector. Tax collector, yeah.
He was a loved guy, I'm sure.
Aye. I mean, people didn't like tax collectors back then, did they? At all.
No.
They still don't.
Well, they just take it out now. They don't come and get it. They take it right out of your check.
Right. Yeah, there isn't a tax collector anymore per se as a person. Yeah, his was lost to history though. Oh, my great-father. Oh, right, okay. Your great-grandfather had a kilt, but his was lost to history. Aye. And then you get a lot of like, well, it's kind of gone gay now as well, where you get gay people wearing the black kilt and stuff like that as a fashion statement because it's like a scarf, you know. It's just crazy.
Oh, in Scotland, you get your ass kicked doing that way.
Oh, it's just crazy how open it is
it's
now.
A fashion statement.
When I was a kid, if people were gay, if you never seen them, but you'd hear of them, you say like, you know, you'd heard rumors of a certain person, but you never seen them doing anything or anything like that. It would have been kept behind doors, and it would just be rumors of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, like when I got older, there were like club owners that were in Charlotte that were openly drag queens and gay, but they when you saw them out in public, they weren't dressed up as drag queens.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
They'd be like normal folk.
That's it.
So when you go to the club, they're in there, you know, we had one guy, his name was, they called him Big Mama, and he had a club called Park Elevator. and everybody go there to get all the good drugs and stuff. So.
Aye. I mean, look, even Freddie Mercury was with a woman for a while.
Oh yeah.
And then she ended up saying to him when she came out as gay, like, "Oh, don't you think I knew that?" yeah. It kept behind closed doors at one point. Now it's just so open. It's crazy. It's crazy. They don't even realize how evil it is. You know how much of an abomination it is. It's all about respect their rights and respect their feelings and that. Nothing about.
I never ask anybody to respect my rights or my feelings. You know. That came out of my mouth.
Nothing from them about respecting God's morality. You know what I mean? Just it's all about their feelings, and that's it. Their feelings and how they get insulted by things all the time. They're all Karens and Kevins, aren't they?
Yeah. Nowadays. I guess I was raised different, man. You take it on the chin, you move on, dude.
That's it, man.
People are gonna talk. That's the way it works.
Absolutely.
Little fragment of Mark. Here's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
If you've never read the Bible, and we've all read the Bible in a way, I was raised Catholic, and so I was habituated to going to Sunday Mass and sort of felt like I didn't know the Bible. I've heard these stories read and so on. But it was a completely different experience for me as an adult to go back with critical skepticism and just read the book of Mark straight through. It has the complete ring of authenticity. And I say this because not only does it give you little details.
Henry's habitat, and but I believe my lot were Adams. I know a few Henrys, but I don't think it's Henrys, it's Hendrys, I know. Where I'm from in Fraserburgh, I don't think they're Hendrys. I think we pronounce it Henrys, but it's Hendrys, I know, in Fraserburgh. Yeah, and they're not originally from Fraserburgh, but yeah, names get all over the place.
That don't really seem to even belong there. It's clearly not written with a polemical purpose exclusively. Mark will tell you things that not only seem irrelevant, but at other times undermine what he's trying to say. And that is the true ring of authenticity. Because if someone were to... What's that?
An example?
Well, here's...
Yeah, that's a good one, Derek. It's not so much that I like the debate as I like using it as an excuse to hang out with you guys. Don't need an excuse.
Here's an example. In the Jewish tradition, the testimony of a woman was considered inherently suspect, but the testimony of men generally reliable. And therefore, not that the testimony of women was disregarded altogether, but you needed, for example, many women to say the same thing.
Yeah.
Now, the Gospels tell us that when Jesus was crucified and put in the tomb, if I were Mark and I were Luke and I were trying to be inventive and I were trying to establish
Henry. Henry. I like it. I could be wrong. They might be Henrys, but I could be wrong. They might be actually Henrys. I don't know, but I think they're actually Hendrys. But
I've never heard that before.
Henrys. They just pronounce it Henrys.
We got a real famous one here. His name was Henry Ford.
Oh, Henry Ford, yeah, of course. Mm-hmm. Of course, we know who that is. Yeah.
If you ever watched Tom and Jerry before?
Yes.
You ever see the parody where they compare it to like World War I and World War II and episodes?
Yeah, probably. It's been a while since I watched it.
They go through all the, like Germany is Tom and Bosnia is Jerry. And what they did with Germany in one episode, they had an American as a giant duck sailor. His name was Henry, like Henry Ford. And he took a lawnmower to Tom's ass.
The old Ford engine to his butt.
Uh-huh.
Hey, Digital, good to see you, bro. Good to see you, man. That's cool.
Establish a truth for posterity. I would not have it that a group of, let's just say, hysterical women, Mary Magdalene, whoever it was, a group of women go to the tomb, and they are the ones who find the tomb empty. this is like a little dubious because most people are going to go, well, yeah, we know, but women, you know. So here's an example of the Gospels insisting upon a point that
that was men that classed women that way. It wasn't
Yeah,
God.
I know. Tell
So,
women that, dude, they'll smack the crap out of you.
yeah. But a lot of people say that, misogynist to people in the Bible and all that as well. Call God misogynist as well. It's not God who's treating them like that. It's men. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I won't piss my girls off. They're meaner than most guys.
My older sisters they were all under 5 foot, all under 5 foot. And they had little girl syndrome, I suppose, small, but they were hardy little shits, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Older sisters, yeah. They used to try and fight my battles for me when I was a kid. You know what I mean? If I got bullied or something, they'd be straight out of there. I'm like, oh, for goodness sake.
Oh, yeah. My sister would scrap and fight with the rest of them, and she'd defend us, and we'd fight back with her. But we would beat the crap out of her, too, when we were younger.
My older sister's dead now. She died a couple of months ago. Crazy. It's crazy. Like, it's mad that 1 minute she was my guardian, then next minute she's dead. It's crazy. It's mental. And she wasn't even that old. She was about 63.
What got her?
Don't know. I haven't got a clue. They just found her dead. Not sure yet. I mean, at one point she was on drugs like I was. I mean, that's kind of where it stems from. One of her ex-boyfriends, sort of thing. But she was off of it as far as I knew. I knew she was on a script. She was on methadone. But so I don't think. I heard that she was dealing for some Liverpudlian people. Don't know how true that was either. I haven't seen her for a while. She hadn't spoken to me since 2002. Yeah, I owed her £25 once. And I couldn't give her it at that point. And she fell out with me. I couldn't believe it. And she fell out with me. I was her favourite brother. She fell out with me. She actually looked after me for a bit as well as a legal guardian until we all got on drugs, sort of thing. And she swore on my granny's grave, who my granny used to look after her for a bit, that she would never talk to me again, and she didn't. And then she ended up dying about 4 months ago. No, not 4 months ago. Sorry, it was last year. It was last June. Saying it was 4 months ago. It was about last June, I think.
Yeah, my sister got caught up with that stuff too. My brother was an addict, but my sister was being a mule for a boy up in Manhattan.
Okay.
She got caught. Ended up spending time in the joint. Yeah.
My sister managed to avoid that. I mean, I think in my family, I'm the only one that's been to jail. My brother hasn't. I mean, my older sisters would have done time in police cells, but never prison. I think I'm the only one who's done prison in my family. In my immediate family, anyway, that's for sure. My cousins definitely have been prisons and that, but yeah. So many people with addictions, no one can escape it. It's an epidemic everywhere. Digital. Doesn't matter where you go. I mean, Fraserburgh, where I'm from in Scotland, is small. It's a 17,000 population, I think. And that was classed as the drugs capital of Scotland in the 90s at one point because of the size of it and the amount of people in drugs now. I mean, in Fraserburgh, you're either a fisherman, a drug addict, or a churchgoer, or all three. It's kind of how it works, you know what I mean? It's crazy. Yeah, it is. It's a way of life now, isn't it? And it's no way of life. It's crazy.
It's better if they just take all the rules out of it and let the people take care of themselves.
Yeah.
But it's all regulated now.
Yeah, that's it. I have got something on my watch later list I want to do at some point. I've got something on the Vatican. It's only 26 minutes long.
Yeah, you were talking about that earlier, right?
Yeah, I might do that tomorrow morning. But there's another one that Tyler Oliveira did the hit piece on Flat Earth with David Weiss and all that.
Oh, nice.
Well, Tyler Oliveira did one on he went to a place where all drugs are legal or something like that. All drugs have been made legal. He went to check that out. So I've got that one as well that I want to do. So I'll do that in one of the times I'm not doing something scriptural. So I might do the Vatican one tomorrow. It's only 26 minutes long, so I might not end up being able to, might have to do something else with it. But sometimes 26 minutes lasts a long time. You don't know.
That's 3 hours, man.
Sometimes. So I'll do that as well.
I don't know why people get so triggered with the whole idea of flat Earth. I still haven't been able to like put my head around it.
It's really,
I don't get it.
It really does tick people off, flat Earth, though. It really does.
Oh, it's ringing some kind of bell somewhere.
Well, it's doing something. It's doing something because, isn't it mad? At one point, the globe was a new kid on the block, and people would have seen that as heretical, and now it's just like nowadays, like we see how the woke people that are now, how people are now is really, really, really bad. You know what I mean? It's terrible. It's crap. It's horrible what they're doing. But
I hear a cry a lot, dude.
That wokeism will just be normal. It'll be something that happened in the past, and it would have just been a normal thing. To us, it's horrible crap.
But here's the point. What are you woke up to? What did you wake up? What?
Yeah, they've gone to sleep, more like. They've gone further into a sleep, into a coma now. They're not sleeping anymore. They're in a coma.
It sounds like more like a political thing to me.
It is, because woke. It's not even. It's stupid. It's woke.
Are you aware of what party your family is associated with? Is that what it is? Are you woke?
Be awake, shouldn't it? But woke is the wrong terminology, but it doesn't describe them anyway. You know what I mean? Yeah. As being woke, they're far from it.
Well, I see them like protesting or always got something public going on. They don't have any private life at all.
No, it's all about their feelings and their selfishness, though. It's all about how they feel and how they're insulted and about their rights. They don't think about what their acts does to people. You know what I mean?
It's all about them, huh?
Always.
That's selfish. That's not woke.
Yeah, they act like they don't have enough funds. Yeah. Never have.
Would only make sense if that was actually the way it happened.
Allow me to answer that, if I may.
Go ahead.
If I may. This is a commonly presented argument for the historicity of the resurrection, which, by the way, now we're talking as...
Well, I'm not... No, hold on. I didn't say it's an argument for the historicity of the resurrection. I said it was an argument...
Let me say a word.
Okay.
Now we're talking about these texts as if they are historical texts. And the thing about the women is, look, this is quite straightforward to me. Who anoints bodies? Who goes to tombs and anoints bodies after someone dies? It's not men, it's women. And so if the authors of the Gospels had the men go to the tomb to anoint the body, which is what Mary and the other women were doing when they went to the tomb, that itself would be very strange and give us reason to doubt the historicity of the events. In other words, it's like if there's a task that women do, and that task is how Jesus' empty tomb is discovered, then why would he invent it? Why would they invent a story that has men going and doing it? Secondly, you said that you need multiple women's testimony. How many women go to the tomb? Multiple. Thirdly, what do the women do immediately after seeing the empty tomb? They run and tell the men who come and verify it for us. Right. So I don't think that this is this fulfills the criterion of embarrassment at all. In fact, I think the opposite is true. I think that if this was an invented story, I'm not saying it is, by the way, but if it were, then of course we could expect the people who discover the empty tomb to be women, because it's women who go to anoint the body at the tomb.
Okay, so let's put together what I just said. And
well, that does make sense, but that doesn't make it untrue. What's been said? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm just saying that, like, the women would be the one to find Christ, so that would validate the story, right?
Yeah, but he's the one that's against Christianity. You know what I mean? Yeah, the Indian guy Dinesh is the one that's for it. So for truth in the Bible anyway. See where he's coming from. Let's see where he's coming from.
He's making sense to himself, or is he just is he fighting this?
Yeah, he took a weird position as well, where I think he was getting to a point. He was playing it weak to get to a point, but he believes in what he's saying. Certainly does.
Huh?
Yeah.
You just said, and let's ask the question, based upon what you said and what I said, did it happen that way? And I would submit that what you have done, see, you're doing special pleadings. You could argue I'm doing special pleadings, but I would admit that if
you hear that noise in the background, that's my upstairs neighbour's pipes. or they just turn them off. Doesn't mind nothing. They get
I
so
heard it. Yeah.
it's awful sometimes. It's really bad. And I phoned the council and everything. But there it is again.
I hear it. Yeah. You need a plumber.
It's not me. It's upstairs.
You need a plumber.
I've got to keep. I keep shouting up to them, and I've phoned the council a few times saying, "Look, this is not my repair, but obviously I'm not reporting it. But there's upstairs or next door. But it seems like upstairs the pipes are terrible. The noise terrible. Nothing's been done. Nothing's been done. So I have to keep shouting up, and you can hear them trying to be quiet, turning the taps on ever so slightly, and then turn them. Oh, they turn them on and off though. It's fair enough if they just ran their bath or whatever.
Yeah.
For 20 minutes and then stop, but they don't. It's on off every 2 seconds. It's like they've got some kind of, I don't know, OCD or some sort, and they're just turning on off on off on off. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, you got a super for your flat, right?
We have concierges and that, and we have cleaners, but they don't. No, you don't have repair people around here. You have to phone the council, the housing association, to come and do it.
Most people here, they have supers. Like in my apartment, we got a crew that does that.
You don't have that, like, yeah. That's more in apartments. This is a block of flats owned by council. You know what I mean?
Okay.
More housing association now, but it's still run.
I've lived in them before. I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just crap. Yep. But it's what we live with.
It's a roof over your head.
It is. It's a roof and about 9 other roofs over my head. Sorry, 11 other or something. I'm on the ground. Though, which is a decent thing.
The thrust of the Bible and the thrust of the story is in fact aimed at delivering a truth from Revelation.
That's fine.
What you're trying to do is saying, all right, I can't.
Oh, by the way, ground floor is first floor to you, Roger.
Yeah.
You do know. Cool.
Contest that because that's outside the domain of reason. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to adopt sort of the nitpicking strategy, and because we got 4 accounts, I'm going to
hold on. You're the one who brought that up. You're the one who said that
I did.
Women discovering
and
the
I'm
tomb.
saying nothing you've said has even slightly refuted it.
You don't think anything I just said refuted the idea that would be something you wouldn't expect from the gospel authors if it were invented?
No. Here's what I'm saying. I'm saying that. I mean, let's look at what we agree on, what we disagree on. You agree that in that culture, the testimony of women.
Don't see the point in saying what ifs though. Like if it wasn't true and it was made up, if it was fiction, then don't you see the problem in that? Well, he's trying to fight against it being untrue, and he's trying to fight for it being true. What's the point in saying if it weren't, wouldn't you think this would happen? Just deal with what it says. You know what I mean?
He's trying to make them sound deceitful. It sounds like. Yeah. They would lie like that, or they make it seem like it's normal, you know. But that would be, if I were like faking history, that's what I would do, you know. No.
Yeah, what if digital said, what if my mom had balls, she'd be my dad? Ricky says something like that as well, like if my auntie had balls, she'd be my uncle or something like that, she says.
Didn't Michael say something like that earlier? If my aunt had balls, she would be my uncle. You could be my uncle.
Absolutely.
In general counts for less.
I think this is something that Josephus tells us, but it's impossible to know what sort of culturally people actually thought at the time. It's impossible for us to know. But I'm happy to grant it. Yeah, sure.
It's impossible for us to know, even though Josephus says it. Okay,
well, that's in a court of law, right?
No, but what I'm saying is, if you're applying the is it impossible for us to know, I would suggest to you it is impossible for us to know that it was the absolute and unwavering duty of women to provide all the ointments. You've stated that as a fact.
No.
I would say it's impossible for us to know.
What I'm saying is that if somebody's reading this text and you say, well, if this were invented, why would it be women?
That's the thing. He's saying you stated that as a fact, and he's saying no. I'm saying no. What if it was invented? Wouldn't the authors say this? So already the conversation's getting mistaken for what people said. So that's why I'm saying, don't talk in what ifs. Just talk about what it says. You know what I mean?
If you discover the tomb, that would be
Sorry.
I'm really confused. It's like he kind of almost sounded like he was going to go along with the actual story the way it was written.
Aye.
But he's asking questions about like
What?
he's almost like he's confusing me. I think
Aye.
that's what he's trying to do.
That's it. That's it.
Confuse the audience. Yeah.
Oh, morning, Michael. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you, bro.
Embarrassing for them, the so-called embarrassment criterion. I'm saying, would it not be just, is not the fact that we're told why they're going to the tomb to anoint the body, is this not just reason enough?
No.
I mean, look, I'm not the one claiming I know how this went down, by the way. And also, you just accused me a second ago of special pleading. I wanted to ask you what it was that I'm specially pleading.
Well, what I'm saying
Are you still on for this afternoon, are you, Michael? You doing it this afternoon?
is that you have an event. These events are described with great precision and a sort of eyewitness presence there. Now, we know in some cases there weren't eyewitnesses, but they're nevertheless described, this is the way it happened. And 4 guys are telling you their point of view, right?
Yeah, none of them the women who actually discovered the tomb, by the way.
No, you're not hearing from the women, I agree. You're 4 male gospel writers, apparently. Now, I lost my train of thought for a second, sorry.
Cool. Dude, about 1, 2 o'clock is cool for me. 1 o'clock, is that all right?
I also don't want to get too caught up on this specific example, but I suppose we'll have to sort of leave it with the audience in the live stream. The point that I'm trying to make is that the historicity of at least some of this is important for Christianity. The historicity of the life of Jesus. Like if it were discovered historically speaking that a man called Jesus never existed, that would completely undermine Christianity.
Are you saying
important. That? No, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
Of course I'm not saying
Let me ask you a different question.
I'm saying that historic.
Nebalagaji, Nebalarata. See you in a bit.
It matters. The crucifixion, the resurrection, these are matters which historically...
You're about to say something, Roger?
No, but I'm thinking.
Okay.
Keep going.
matter to Christians. And so when we're dealing with a historical account of what happened, when they're riddled with contradictions, I think that that's a problem. If you don't think that's a problem, then that's fine. But I think that the people listening and wanting to find out if the Bible is true might see that as reason to undermine the trust of the text.
No, first of all, almost everything that we know about those events in terms of modern historical reliability, for example, where is the site of Jesus' crucifixion? Yeah. Unknown.
Allegedly
disputed. There are a couple of potential sites, but it's not known. What day of the year was Jesus born? Unknown. Mm-hmm. We think Jesus lived for 33 years, but let's say that one of the Gospels said it was 33 and the other one said it was 34. Do you think that would actually refute Christianity?
No.
No, it would not.
No.
It would actually be quite understandable that you'd have two guys. And they would get that, and they'd be off on that, and this contradiction would be trivial because the issue is not whether Jesus lived for 33 or 34 years old.
Right, that's a different kind. Because if you could tell me that the reason why they had specifically chosen those ages was to serve a theological point, knowing that they're willing to sort of adapt history in order to make a theological point, I wouldn't say that that point alone undermines Christianity. What I would say is that it undermines our trustworthiness in the Bible. I'm not saying that any one of these contradictions can tell us Christianity is false. Of course not.
But I'm saying
firstly, the question is not if Christianity is true, it's whether the Bible is true. It may be the case that a man called Jesus came down to earth, rose from the dead. It's just that the gospel accounts get...
You go kind of hand in hand, the Bible and Christianity. We wouldn't know, I mean, yes, it got passed down through people, but we wouldn't know much about Jesus' character as much if it wasn't recorded. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I kind of get where he's going. He's saying the Bible's not kind of real. It's like a philosophy point that they're making out of these stories. That's what he thinks. He thinks it's like all metaphorical philosophy for a philosophy of what God is and what God would do for you, not an actual historical point.
Yeah, well,
the other guy's saying it is a historical point.
Yeah. Well, philosophers are just thinkers. They just think and talk and have opinions. That's all philosophy is. You know what I mean? I'd rather
everybody has those, dude. Everybody has an opinion.
Musings. Yeah. That's it.
The details wrong, which mean that the Bible is not correct, but the story that the Bible tells is true. It means that Christianity is true, but the Bible is false.
What?
That's perfectly consistent.
I don't think you could make that assumption. Bible
did, didn't he?
stupid
He said it.
be false. No. No, they go hand in hand. They definitely go hand in hand. I mean, Christian teachings come from the Bible.
He's trying to make it seem like they don't go hand in hand.
Yeah, no. I don't think you could. Yes, you could have Christianity without the Bible being passed down, but a lot of things would be Chinese whispers. It would get corrupted down the ways. You know what I mean? It had to be recorded.
Everybody would have their own brand of religion too, wouldn't they? Be like, if you weren't on the same, basic morals, commandments, and stories, you wouldn't have much to talk about.
No, exactly.
Simply saying that what you're doing is you are supplying a motive that is completely made up and that I could engage in exactly, let's just take, for example, the 33 versus the 34 years. Now, here's what I'm saying. If there was such a contradiction and I were being you, I would say, oh, the reason that Matthew said it was 33 is because 3 is the number of the Trinity. And so 33 has a certain theological resonance because 3 and 3 is 33. Hold on. And then I would come around and say, well, the reason the other guy said 34 is actually 3 plus 4 is 7. God made the world in 7 days. 7 is known to be a number fraught with theological significance. And I'm saying, this is basically Alex BS.
Dinesh, the gospel writers tell us that's why it happened. They say that the reason the family went to Egypt was to fulfill the prophecy of Hosea.
Okay, and so
in other words, if the gospel writer, and now imagine that the gospel writers had
Sorry,
written,
PJ.
Even when Jesus does something, I can't remember what it is. At the end, where it says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Or when he says it is accomplished, it says that they say it in the Gospels as to fulfill Scripture. He said that. He didn't just say to fulfill Scripture. It was just put in a way to put it, saying that's how he fulfilled Scripture by saying that. Do you know what I mean? Because it was already written in the Old Testament. He said it like that. He did it to fulfill Scripture. It wasn't for that reason. It's just a way of putting it. You know what I mean? That's
this guy thinks that they read the prophecies and then fulfilled them. Is that what he thinks?
Things they read the prophecies and he just went to Egypt to fulfill it.
Yeah, that's nonsense. See, that's not how prophecy works. If it's really prophetic, it's being guided by God. The hand, that's how it's fulfilled.
I just wanted to comment on that as well. They didn't go to Bethlehem because it was prophesied. They went to Bethlehem for whatever reasons happened. It was just the fact that God knew what they were going to do and gave that as prophecy.
He's trying to take power away from God, dude. He's like it.
Of course, they did it. They did like the men did it just because God couldn't do it. You know what I mean? Like, we didn't know when it was going to happen, so we just went out and fulfilled the prophecy ourselves. We couldn't wait for God. Yes, it might seem like it's written that way, but it's not what they're saying at all. That's just ridiculous.
He's full of fodder.
Aye, madness.
What you just said. Imagine in the actual text, one of them said he was 33 when he died because of the number 3 and its significance.
Correct.
And another said that he was.
Hey, Carmel, good to see you, man. Good to see you.
That's funny. It's like
because of the number.
Hold on, PJ. That's saying that Christ died at 33 because it was said he was going to die at 33. Where was that in the prophecy?
Wow. I can't even remember if it said he died at 33 or if it just said how long he did die after his ministry started. I can't remember, but still.
What does it matter anyway?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't.
And people make things about numbers after the fact, you know what I mean? It's not before the fact.
Like
exactly.
the what do you call it? Gematria?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Gematria.
All that's just Sue saying that this is they'll take your name, lay out numbers with each letter, and this is supposed to happen because of the name, the number. It's after the fact. They didn't pull your name up, do some math, and we're going to throw that out there so everybody can do the math and figure out you're the Antichrist or whatever.
Aye, aye. I mean, there is a few things with numbers and that, definitely, but numerology, you know what I mean, going too far into reading stuff into numbers can be dangerous, you know what I mean?
For its significance, that would be a contradiction, and not, and in that instance, not just a historical contradiction, but a spiritual and theological one too.
Actually, no, it actually wouldn't.
Oh, come on.
It wouldn't. I'll
How
tell
would
you
that-
why.
You don't think that's a contradiction?
No, it's not a contradiction at all, because the gospel writers are constantly
Contradicting each other?
no drawing, not contradicting each other. If
Different points of view. I wish you'd stop saying they're contradicting each other. They're from different perceptions. In fact, I was saying the other day, two people might see a car crash, him from across the road, me from the back. You see you see the same thing, you see it from a different point of view. And they were writing it afterwards. They might not have got every single bang-on detail perfect, like times and places and all that crap.
Men get things wrong, you know, so men can get birthdays wrong, you know. And I think that's why it is as it is in Bible, to show that it is actually men writing it inspired by God rather than God dictating what said, you know what I mean?
Exactly. And if they wanted the Bible to be, if it was fiction, but they wanted people to believe it, would they have made them little, not errors, but would they have made them little discrepancies, I suppose you could say? You know what I mean? Not contradictions, but discrepancies. They wouldn't more believe what their story is completely straight, bang on. This is God's word. This is said it's going to happen. That's going to happen exactly. All the four Gospels, they said exactly the same thing by four different people. It's mad to think that's got to happen with them men writing. You know what I mean?
There are two gospels that are pretty much straightforward, the same almost, right?
John's like the gospel of like, that's more in a more personal kind of gospel, isn't it? What gospels are you on about? Which two?
Oh, was it
Mark,
Matthew and Luke were the ones that they had discrepancies in them?
Okay.
They were some of the storylines exactly the same. Yeah.
Maybe I can't remember, to be honest. But yeah,
especially the trip to Egypt. That was one in particular, right? It wasn't mentioned in all the gospels, but that doesn't mean that it didn't happen. Yeah.
Aye. But it's just madness to think that 40 men wrote the Bible. You know what I mean? They've got to get it exactly to coincide with everything. Do you know what I mean? It's just ridiculous. I mean, prophecies came true. Do you know what I mean? Jesus came true. Do you know what I mean? Stuff is happening now. Wisdom's in the Bible. Do you know what I mean? 10 Commandments, the laws are based on it. Everything. You know, don't tell me there's nothing good in the Bible that's not used. There's nothing. People that Christians use these kind of moralities in that as well.
Well, think about this: if there were two different authors in Genesis, right? They wrote two different separate Genesis. Do you think they'd be exactly the same?
No.
But with Old Testament, there's like one author for book, and they didn't tell the same stories necessarily. They had completely different aspects in the old world. Yeah.
Hello, Mr. Super Sidewinder. How's it going, man? Good to see you, bro.
they were constantly contradicting each other, you wouldn't have spent half an hour on a single event that, frankly, I haven't even heard of. In fact, no one's ever heard of. I've never ever heard anyone discuss this in any context.
Fair play, chilling was an atheist until last year. Well, thank goodness you're not now. Bless you, man.
So
which event?
This prophecy about Hosea. I'll go back and look at all this, but what I'm trying to get at is, if you had a plethora of contradictions, you wouldn't be spending the entire debate on one that I'm sure no one in the audience has heard of either.
Hold on.
But
I keep thinking it's you saying, hold on, Roger, it's him. I keep thinking it's Roger.
Oh well, so okay, you've heard of it. Probably because you've been listening to his YouTube channel, right?
You don't think that this is a highly discussed point of contention in the Gospels, the flight to Egypt and its contradiction with the
flight to Egypt. Look, the flight to Egypt is an important event in the Gospel. I'm not saying.
Dinesh, also you said, why could you only bring up this one example? Take your pick. The date of Jesus' crucifixion, whether they're to take a staff or not to take a staff, the dating of Jesus flipping the tables at the temple, Mary Magdalene and what she says at the tomb, when the temple curtain rips. In the Gospel of Luke, it says that this happens before Jesus' death, and in the Gospels of Matthew and Mark, it says that it happens afterwards. Like, we can go through any of these contradictions that you like, but
discrepancies, not contradictions.
Yeah, those are the two gospels I was talking. Matthew, Mark are almost identical.
Yeah,
So,
and like I say, they were written a little while after it happened as well. Is this brought back from memory? You know what I mean? But they're so close in other aspects, then how can you deny it? It's just ridiculous to say that the things that go together in the Bible with the discrepancies that don't. And even the discrepancies ain't even that bad. It's nothing.
yeah. So what I would do if I was a good detective, I would take Matthew and Mark and compare them and narrow it down, and it would probably be closer to the truth than, let's say, if you took all four of the gospels, threw them together, like, here you go, voila.
And then the Dead Sea Scrolls get found, and what they say pretty much exactly the same. So
yeah,
come on.
the problem is that what you're going to tell me is that it's trivial, and then when I try to explain that it's not trivial, you say, oh, well, I haven't even heard of it, and no one else really cares about this. When other people do, by the way, this is a highly discussed point of contention in the gospel. All I'm asking you to do is say that this is... when I mentioned the staff in my opening statement, and I said that whether or not they take a staff is a totally trivial contradiction, I'm not bothered by that. If I were a Christian, I would say, yeah, of course, because the texts are not going to perfectly accord. But for some reason, Augustine could not accept this, and so comes up with this ludicrous idea of a literal staff and a metaphorical staff that Jesus is talking about. If you were willing to just say, yes, this is a contradiction, but that doesn't upset the method of Christianity, I think it would be a much more defensible and respectable approach. But instead it seems that you're unwilling to admit that there's even a single contradiction in these texts.
I am saying that the texts are written from 4 different points of view.
Do they contradict each
and
other?
it is quite possible that on details, Matthew tells you things that are not in Mark, or different than Mark. Contradict Mark.
Contradict Mark.
Yes, contradict Mark. And so the point is, here's my point. You're acting... I mean, look at it this way. You would be scoring a point if you could say, God wrote 4 books and they contradict each other. Just like if you're able to say, Dinesh said this in the beginning of the debate and that at the end of the debate, Dinesh is contradicting himself. On the other hand, if we have 2 guys who are here today to go and write an account of this debate, right? And then we look at their accounts, which are authentic, first person, I was their account with a lot of detail.
Yep.
And one guy says, for example, the lights were dark. The other guy says the lights were dim.
My point, exactly. Different perceptions. You know what I mean? Like you just said there, the lights were dark, lights were dim. Someone might have an eye problem. You know what I mean? Yeah, the lights were dim to him. The lights are bright for someone else. It's just discrepancies. I mean, even discrepancies, I think is too strong a word. It's crazy to think that.
The biggest one I can see is the trip to Egypt. That's the only big one that I could put my finger on.
Mm.
Yeah,
Right.
out of the 4.
Exactly.
Yeah. They did say like the temple veil was torn in all the gospels, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether
Exactly.
it happened before or after, it doesn't matter.
I mean, it'd be different if someone said that, I don't know, Jesus was crucified and died, and someone else says, oh, well, Jesus got killed by a spear.
Is that Vicky I can hear snarling?
Yeah, that's Vicky. Absolutely. That's not even at our best yet. Yeah, man. It'd be different. That'd be a contradiction. But not little things.
Rather than focus on what you think is a contradiction, why not focus on things that they're all up on agreement? You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I don't get this kind of... I've seen it with people I've tried to speak to, and I've said, go and look into the Bible, and they've come back, and what they've looked into is loads of debunking videos. You know what I mean? Like, why do you want to try and debunk it? Like, why not just try and read it?
I even watched the videos of the actual true meaning of what Jesus said and stuff like that, and all this stupidness and all that stuff. But I watched it just out of interest of what crap they were talking. It would never have changed my mind. But people are going out watching this stuff to try and do that, literally do that, to try and debunk things. Do you know what I mean? Nitpick, then just watch, like Michael just said, go and watch a video. Go and read the Bible, but they'll go and watch a few videos on debunking something.
How long has it been since the Gospels were actually written? Though that's a good question. And to say that they're still intact, like they were actually written, is a good question in my head. Like, are we actually reading what the writers wrote to begin with from their account?
There's scholars actually done this, and they've compared what we've got now with the earliest ones that you can find, and there's very little difference. Like there is that.
So there's not much changed in it.
That's according to scholars. Like, I mean, I haven't physically got an old scripture and tested it myself, like, but
yeah,
I would imagine. I would imagine God's got some kind of control on how much it's tampered with, like, you know.
Well, you obviously it's tampered with because you do have like this Mandela effect.
That's it's tampered with, yeah. I don't,
right,
you know.
Right, definitely. I mean, it doesn't take like Dave always says. Dave Beverly, there's still a lot of meat in the Bible. You know what I mean? It's not. It hasn't changed the meaning.
Start worrying about it when Bible don't lead you to a road of salvation anymore. That's when it's time to worry.
That's right. That's right.
Well, it's under attack to begin with, right? Like they're always trying to chop it up.
It's under attack. But if you were devil, what wouldn't you attack it?
Yeah.
You know, that'd be the first thing I'd attack Bible.
Of course. It's a desperate attempt from the devil. I mean, he already tried doing this by audibly doing it, by twisting what God said scripturally, or what God actually said. Like, did God really say? You know what I mean? Tried that already, but now he's actually physically doing it. You know what I mean? By changing things in scripture.
Yeah.
Just to make Christians doubt. And people that's not Christians doubt even more. It's an attempt.
I heard one yesterday, and I haven't looked into this, so I'm not going to promote it as a change or not yet, because I don't know. I haven't looked into it, but I've heard that restrainer's no longer in Bible.
Restrain?
The restrainer.
Right.
I have to have a look. I haven't looked like, so I'm not going
to. Okay. Yeah, I haven't heard that yet.
I'll start pulling your hair out later.
Right. It's that churches serve science and the devils. It can do.
One guy says, for example, that Dinesh was sitting at a 45-degree angle.
Chilling says, I don't understand why churches don't promote FE, because they're deceived like everybody else. They think we live on a ball, you know. That's why they don't promote it.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Royals. They do that. Yeah.
Like they do, the flats I done last night, Charles Lawson, was it? You could see how against it he was in his church, and he wasn't looking at it from a scriptural point of view, and he was doing a sermon. You know, he didn't really use scripture except out of context. And I don't think he was a bad dude. I just think he was definitely wrong about a lot of things, but some of it he did seem to be deceptive. But he seemed like an alright dude. But like we say, people are fallible.
Yeah, I heard somewhere that like basically the astronomers and the royals and the papal throne, they are the ones who created the ball to begin with, and they want to keep that for themselves. And that's like you ever seen the chalice, like the holy hand grenade? That's basically the heliocentric model. Is basically they commissioned Copernicus and Kepler and everybody else to build this astronomy model for them. Yeah.
Right.
And they're against God.
Of course.
Yeah. So I think it's a dichotomy that they created of their own, and they like to confuse a little bit crap out of people with it. So,
I love the dichotomies.
Yeah. So it's pretty much a lie within a lie. Right?
Chilling says, I'm gonna put it up. Chilling says, me watching or listening to anything regarding God is a million miles away from last year. Well, absolutely, bro.
I think we can all attest to that, can't we? Like,
yeah, absolutely.
I'd be thumping Bible, but
you know, I never thought that as a kid. I never had a problem believing in God, but when it came to Bible, that's a different thing. I mean, that's getting religious. When as a kid, you think it's getting religious. Obviously,
I've cursed God, blamed God for everything. You know, I've said every bad thing about God you could possibly say.
Well, I was gonna say one more thing. Like when the Queen died, remember? Yeah, Adam Meakin actually did a eulogy for her, and he said, "Here's what you get for holding up your heliocentric model."
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
Anyway, that was how long has it been since she passed away? Supposedly
last year.
I bet it's knocking up 2 years now, isn't it?
2 years. June. 2 years past. June just passed. Yeah.
Lord,
Oh,
that's how long I've been in these debates. It's been longer than that, but yeah.
Is it 2 years or is it just one? Let me just check. Because I thought this before. I thought it was 2 years since I'd seen Michael.
Oh, yeah, I did as well.
I even made a video of it and said 2 years and had to.
She's got some extra time, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah. 26.
Well, I was going around saying that I'd been a believer for longer than I have, because when I look back on when I posted that photograph I took it, you know, when I seen Jesus in clouds.
Oh, I.
That was only 4 years ago, like, so I'm only 4 years into being a believer, like.
Doing good, man. Doing scriptural knowledge you got is really.
You know, like knocking up like 6 years or something like that. No, I'm not.
It feels like it sometimes though, because by the way, she died. It'll be 2 years in September. She died.
I thought we were knocking up 2 years, right?
I think what I was thinking of was the king getting coronated. You know what I mean, getting crowned and that. Because I mean, he's
on his last legs, isn't he?
I mean, I don't know very well. I mean, I think it'll be going to William soon.
I think it's going to go to Harry, mate.
I'd prefer it to go to Harry. Not that I give a crap about thingy, but I think he's more down to earth dude out of the lot of the royals. You know what I mean? I mean, he was caught for smoking weed and all that, and he did a bit of partying and stuff. But
he's trying to disassociate himself from the family, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But
you can't leave that behind.
Listen, it's still amazing light resting him. Don't think he ain't.
Exactly. But I mean, realistically, King Charles should have abdicated because he remarried, didn't he? He remarried Camilla. The kings would abdicate if they did that.
Go along, don't they?
Exactly. I mean, she's even now queen consort. She's now the queen.
There's no rules to them who make up the rules, is there?
No.
Queen consort. What? Just might as be queen.
Sounds horrible, doesn't it? Though, like, it sounds like I don't know. Creepy.
It does. It does sound horrible. It sounds conceited. I know it sounds not conceited. It sounds
It sounds like I don't know. It sounds bad.
Yeah, what was the word I was looking for?
Like she's some kind of
clandestine. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
You boys ever listen to Jimmy Carr?
Yeah. I've known him. I don't know him a lot.
He's got a couple of decent jokes. That he did this one. He's like, America has astronauts. Russia has cosmonauts. The English have their own astronauts. They call them balloonists.
Oh,
he made a reference to the flat Earth. That's what he did. Yeah, there ain't no space.
It can be ruthless, Jimmy Carr. Right?
Oh yeah. Without doubt.
Isn't he? Well, where's he from? He's posh, right?
He's what?
He's kind of posh.
Posh.
He's not working class. Where's he from?
I don't know, mate.
Jimmy Carr.
PJ can Google it.
Yeah, I'll look for it. He's Irish.
Oh. That explains everything.
British Irish. So he's probably got an English. Yeah, he's got an English. He was born
Mind you, my grandma's of Irish descent, like, so.
Mine too. On my
He's
dad's
obviously,
side.
you know, here it is, London. He was born in London, but he obviously his family's Irish. I knew he didn't obviously talk with an Irish accent. I wouldn't say he's posh though. I'd say he's well enough spoken, but I wouldn't say he's posh. You know, more like Michael. Is it Michael Carr? That's more posh. Is his name Carr? Michael McIntyre, maybe. Michael McIntyre maybe sounds posh.
I can't stand him, McIntyre.
Yeah, Michael McIntyre. He's the posh sounding comedian. Michael McIntyre. Yeah. But Jimmy Carr, no, I wouldn't say he's posh. He's well enough spoken, but I wouldn't say he's posh.
He went to school, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he went to Oxford and things like that, I think. Or he's I don't know if he went there, but he's from around that way. You know what I mean? Did he go there? I don't care if he went there. I'm not looking that up. Right. There we go.
Nathan seems to like him a lot for some reason.
Oh, Nathan Oakley likes Jimmy Carr.
Yeah.
I can see that. I can see that. Definitely. Has anyone watched allegedly Dave takes on the Irish? I haven't seen that. No. I haven't watched any blooming TV or anything for a long time. Anyway,
the only thing I've seen about Jimmy Carr is
that guy, you know, Flat Earth guy.
Oh, him? What's his name?
Allegedly Dave.
Allegedly Dave.
Oh, right, allegedly. I'm right. Okay, I'm thinking of bloody something from TV.
Yeah.
Got you now.
That knows what I mean.
Aye, like.
What do you
Right.
mean?
Now the guy says that
Sorry, Roger. Okay.
I don't know.
Right, let's get on with it. I'm going for a pee anyway.
it was a 50-degree angle.
Yeah. But
These are
now,
not.
now imagine,
and then
now
someone goes, Dinesh was sitting at a 43.5-degree angle because he thought this was a way of maximizing his rhetorical effectiveness for the audience. People would be like,
now imagine somebody said, Alex was wearing a blue jacket, and the reason he was wearing a blue jacket, someone said it's a blue jacket, someone else said it's a red jacket. Who cares? You're quite right. But if somebody said specifically, I know that the reason he was wearing a blue jacket was because there's an upcoming election in the UK that's just been announced, and he was trying to represent the Conservative Party. And somebody else said, I know that the reason he was wearing red, and in fact he told us himself that the reason he was wearing red is because he wanted to support Labour in the upcoming general election in his home country.
Okay, perfect
You would
example.
say, that is a contradiction and means that one of you wasn't paying close enough attention, not just to the colour of my jacket, but the very message that I was trying to get across.
that could well be true. But what I'm getting at is we know, just from normal experience, that if the two of us are sitting in a cafe and we see an accident, these kinds of differences are normal. So let's just say, for example, here's God showing us a revelation, and the revelation can be whatever it is, and you and I write an account of it, and somebody finds that my account of it not only is different than yours, but let's just say, for example, I go, oh, Jesus was wearing a cloak. Another guy goes, he's wearing a robe. For anyone to actually think that this is, in fact, a refutation of the truth of the Bible is ludicrous. So anyway, in our format, we've agreed to do a flip where you've been asking me questions. Now, let me ask you something.
If you've got something to ask.
Let me turn around and ask you questions in a sort of what I think is a more fundamental mode, because it gets to what the Bible really is.
Let's hear it.
Yeah, like you were saying though, I heard when I was at the toilet, these differences are normal, definitely normal. I don't think any of them's contradictions at all.
Again,
Think about this for a
like,
second.
if God had have come down and wrote with his own hand, then there might not have been these discrepancies, but he inspired men to write. So obviously, with free will, men are going to just write what they saw. And not every person is as observant as another person, you know.
Yeah.
The differences between how clever they were, you know, there's all different reasons.
I just think God could have wrote the scripture himself, and as men, we would have found discrepancies because we want to see discrepancies because you don't want to believe. You know what I mean?
It
It could be clear God wrote it, and people would still see discrepancies, I think.
Well, like, look at what he just said, you know, but difference between a robe and a cloak. I mean, to me, there is no difference.
No, not to me neither. Well, think about this, guys. Think maybe they wrote it like that so you could try to put the puzzle together later. Maybe they're messing with you. I don't think it's like that, but you can get a spin on it. Like, who do you believe?
Exactly. That's why we have faith, you know.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's people going about faith being a bad thing. Like, no, I mean, faith's a good thing. You've got to have faith. There's got to be faith involved, or else it's just completely knowing. It's just knowledge then.
You can't
And
take,
then it's
take all the stories that ever happened during Christ's ministry and compare them with each other.
aye, exactly. Hey, Jimenez, how you doing, man? Good to see it. Every time you say that name.
I can see like Jesus shaking his head, saying like, you know, you're picking faults at all these minor things and you're missing point totally.
Absolutely.
So when the whole point of the gospel is the redemption that goes with it, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Do you think that the universe had a beginning?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I would suspect yes.
You suspect yes.
Yeah, sure.
How did the writers of the book of Genesis know that?
I have no idea. It could, I mean, if I'm going
You
to
mean
be
they guessed?
if I'm going to be cynical about this, if they did guess, it would be a 50-50 guess. And I also think that if we had scientific...
Would it be a 50-50 guess?
Yeah, because, and it might even be worse than that for you, because if we had some kind of scientific popular hypothesis, because of course the Big Bang might not have been the beginning of everything, who knows, right? But like, whatever the popular scientific hypothesis is, if it were pointing to an infinite universe, for example, as Einstein thought we lived in, then I'm sure that people would open Genesis. They would say that in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth, and say that the earth just means the earth itself, right? Like, I think it would be easily interpretable on either account.
Oh, wow.
All right.
Wow.
Hold on,
Just
PJ.
like God created the heavens now. So God created the heavens and some mud. Yeah, okay. That makes sense, doesn't it, dude?
Well, he just touted the Big Bang like it was actually a scientifically proven fact.
Yeah. A good idea. Big Bang, evolution goes hand in hand. Heliocentrism, evolution goes hand in hand. And like Michael, I don't know how these Christians can separate that. How they can make these things correlate, like their belief in young Earth, but also their belief in heliocentrism.
Billions of years old stars and stuff. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a myth. It's
I mean, even
scientifically proven.
the guy was talking about it in the first episode. In fact, wasn't he? He was saying like, yeah, in creation, it's like we're about 6,000 years old. But then he was talking about the what do you call it, when the star drifts from because of the tilt, when it takes 25,000 years, and nobody was like, and he says, and it's already shifted. Like, so, hold on, you just said it's 6,000 years old, but it takes 25,000 years to shift, and it's already shifted. So, what do you believe? You're giving two stories.
Timelines are way off.
Yeah, that's a contradiction. I mean,
it's like Danny Faulkner's you know, he's spent his life looking at these lights in the sky, claims a young Earth. So then it should claim young stars.
Young stars.
If you were to claim young stars, then your heliocentrism starts falling apart, doesn't it? You know what I mean? It's
right.
So
can't see how they can hold these things.
So
crazy. These are
this is why I think they're dishonest, though. You know.
Of course.
The account in Genesis says he created the moon and stars. What day was it? I know it was the second.
Half day.
So, yeah, I guess the day is like 100 billion years old. One day.
Got to be, man. Got to be, because like you got to remember, soup. The rained on rocks for millions of years to make soup.
Yeah, and
how many years does the claim? Like, is it something like 15 billion or something?
Oh.
I thought it was
each day would have to be multiple billions, wouldn't it?
Aye.
I thought the last time it was 45 billion was the age that they give the universe. That was the last time I heard.
5 billion years. Wow, man.
45 billion. That's what. Try to count that on your hand.
Crazy.
So, one of my professors at Dartmouth was Robert Jastrow. He headed the Mount Wilson Laboratory, one of the great astronomers of the 20th century.
Sure.
So Jastrow writes in his book, God and the Astronomers, that for 250 years, modern science has been attempting to discover whether the universe had a beginning. Mm-hmm. And you can think of these scientists as ascending a very tall mountain in which there are many pathways. And for many years, with the steady state hypothesis and so on, there were beliefs that the universe was eternal. It never had a beginning. In fact, that was the prevailing point of view. And then Jastrow argues it's almost as if we reached the top of the mountain and there was a bunch of Hebrew prophets or theologians sitting there who had been there from the beginning. So I'm describing now a skeptic, a true skeptic and a true scientist describing the scientific shock that attends to a discovery that, and I think it is out of the spirit of that discovery for you to go, oh yeah, I mean, it could have been this. It's like tossing a coin. It isn't like tossing a coin. This is a question that's been argued for 2 centuries and only resolved in the last several decades.
I've just had a quick look on Google to see how long it'd take you to count to 1 billion, and there's different numbers, but there's a lot saying around 50 odd years.
So for me to start counting now to 1 billion, if I was to just do it steadily, like 1 second per second, it would take me 30 years till I'm 70, 77, nearly 78 to count to 1 billion. Wow.
Better get started.
I better get started if I want to do that. Even counting twice as fast, though. I'm only going to get 15 years out of it. You got to eating stuff, you know what I mean? So it's going to take even longer.
The Mount Wilson he's talking about, the observatory there, that's the Jay Tolan stomping ground. That's where he goes all the time.
Wow.
He goes up there and makes observations. Yeah. Mount Wilson's a pretty popular place in California now, I guess.
Okay.
I've never been there, but I've lived in Cali, and the only place I ever went to was like Idlewild. It's next to Bear Mountain. It's one of the highest mountains in California.
Okay.
I don't know why they wouldn't put an observatory there. That would make more sense to me.
You think?
Bear Mountain where they go skiing and that.
Yeah. I guess it's better for skiing than observatories. Yeah. But Mount Wilson's not that high comparably.
There's some good observations up there, though. Definitely.
Well, most of the ones that the Catholic Church own are in South America and where else? In the Alps. I think there's Lucifer is somewhere near CERN.
Okay.
But most of those are owned by the church, so that's why they like keeping
in Chile. I like that.
Lucifer, maybe. Yeah.
Let me have a look.
They put an apt name on it, though, didn't they? Well, we'll call it Lucifer. We're gonna stare at the stars. Did Vicky wake up?
No, that's Beth. That's Beth. That's Michael's other half. No, Michael's half sleeping.
His better half.
Mm-hmm. Mountain.
Why do they call it the better half?
Mount Graham.
Why do they call it the better half? Because men are meant to be the bad ones, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's just it's a term of endearment, isn't it? The better half.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the missus might say that about the husband as well, but not often. It's more the husband says it about the wife.
I don't know what the women say about the men.
Quite a lot.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Decades and resolve decisively in one side and the other. And the fact that you're not willing to just straight out say, yeah, it is actually an astounding fact that we now know.
No. I mean, look, the scientific method has also revealed to us that the Earth was formed about 4.5 billion years ago. That is much later than the sun.
Hold on.
Also, the Old Testament account, the Hebrew Bible account.
Right.
The scientific method.
Yeah.
What did they move
Well-
around to make that happen?
Exactly. First of all, you got to. I mean, part of it is observing. How you observing that, dude?
Yeah. Well, with the background microwave radio
Mm.
thing, whatever it is.
Yeah, that's observation.
Yeah.
And that's
So,
ridiculous.
so how do you get science out of that?
You don't.
No.
You don't. There's nothing scientific about a made-up story.
So they're blowing smoke up your ass. Yeah.
Well, pretty much. Pretty much.
Tells us that it was the other way around. So it got that bit wrong.
All right. So we're yes. The Bible is not.
So
is-
sometimes it
the
gets
Bi-
things right,
No.
sometimes it gets things wrong, you know?
The Bible is not
It's
a
not that
science.
astounding to
It's
me.
not listing out a scientific.
Well, now hold on a second. You can't now move the goalpost, especially if you're still gonna miss.
Well, it's not a science book, is it? What do you mean? The goalposts. He never claimed it to be in a science book. He claimed it to being true.
It's a historical book. That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
the
doing
issue.
so.
Well,
Mm. Mm.
well, the,
Put
no.
him on
The
the
issue
back
of
foot,
of the
though.
origin.
Sorry, Roger. Every time I got played, I start talking.
Sorry. I was going to say, he's already got him on the back foot. He's already accepted science is true.
Aye.
What they're saying about science. And it's not science.
Well, exactly. There's nothing scientific about a story.
of the universe is
You just
extremely
told me.
critical.
You just told me that Genesis predicted, or knew about, or somehow knew about the scientific hypothesis of the origin of the universe. Then, when I pointed out another scientific observation that doesn't accord with Genesis, you tell me that Genesis isn't a scientific text to begin with.
Well, if you read Genesis, it is making a astounding claim, which pertains to God. Obviously, God created the
Is
heavens
it making
and
a
the earth.
scientific claim or not? Is it telling us how the universe scientifically formed or not?
It's not telling us how the universe scientifically formed, because if it did, they would be outlining the history of the Big
Then what's
Bang.
the relevance of bringing this up in the first place?
Because it is stating a conclusion, not a process. It's not telling you how the universe was formed.
Right.
It's
It
not
also
telling
doesn't
you
tell us-
about.
It also doesn't tell us how the sun was formed, but it tells us that it was formed after the earth was. It tells
It
us
was
that that's
made
the
by
case.
God. Yeah.
That's wrong. It's incorrect.
It's not incorrect.
I don't have a. I don't.
You just assume it's incorrect because you believe in heliocentrism.
Yeah. Well, he's not like he's saying that the Big Bang was made by God, almost the other guy.
Mm.
He's agreeing with him to a point. It doesn't
Yeah.
describe how the universe was made. It does. He tells you exactly how he made it. He didn't tell you what he made it out of. You know.
But he's obviously not a. He's obviously a go by. He's into heliocentrism, so he's got to try and do that mental gymnastics where that 6,000 billions work together. You know what
He's
I
an
mean?
atheist that believes in God. Okay.
Well, I'm talking about Dinesh. He's not a flat earther. He still believes in heliocentrism, so he's got to agree with him to a certain point when it comes to heliocentrism, hasn't he? But he's got to go through that mental gymnastics of how do I get like heliocentrism, evolution, or not even evolution, because he probably doesn't believe in evolution, but heliocentrism, all these vast times plus the 6,000 of the Bible to work.
He probably believes in gravity too. So.
Well, of course.
Have
It's
a
a
Bible.
faith.
Okay. Well, I've read that passage maybe a dozen times. I have never spotted this contradiction that you're describing. But I'll go back and look at it again. But again,
On what day is?
You see a contradiction, then you're not working with the Holy Spirit, like Michael says. There's not going to be a contradiction.
And Genesis can't contradict itself. Man. It
Mm.
doesn't.
Like I said discrepancies. Even to me, even discrepancies was too strong a word. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Slight
Seems
difference.
like the little white boy doesn't believe in supernatural stuff.
Aye. Right.
It was naturally formed. Nature made itself.
Of course it did. Of course.
That God makes the sun and day 4. It was day 3 or day 4, something around there.
you're right. But
When's light
the mainstream
created?
of the Christian tradition does.
When's the
It
heaven and
obviously
the earth
can't
created?
be day 4 because the concept of day in the original Hebrew doesn't mean day.
Sure, but day 4 comes after day 1, right?
Well,
how long the day
it's
is.
describing obviously epochs or periods.
Yeah,
Yes.
so actually it's much worse because now the sun is created much, much, much later than the Earth was.
Well, not necessarily.
It's not
Well,
not going to work for me.
Worse.
This is where he's on back foot because he's also got an heliocentrism belief, so he can't defend this.
That's the problem.
That is the only thing. He's got to look like he's wavering here, definitely, because he's got the same belief as that guy when it comes to heliocentric model.
Yeah. It's like
It's
the guy
not-
on Platzoids. He probably thinks the same way. The other preacher. Yeah.
So he's going to struggle. You can actually hear it. I mean, any other part of this debate, he's been well confident. Here, you can kind of hear he's on the back foot in his voice and what he's saying, and he has to be. There's no way he can marry them together.
Yeah. We can help him with that.
Oh, absolutely.
show me.
I don't know. I mean, we can read through that. We can find Genesis.
Yeah,
if you like.
okay.
I don't know if that would be the best use of our time. I mean, we could do it if you really want to. But what I'm trying to say is that like, it's not astonishing.
Let's move on.
Why not? It's not astonishing to me that like if you're making claims about the origin of the universe, especially in the case where if it is making a specific claim in the knowledge that there's a sort of infinite hypothesis and a beginning hypothesis, to take a 50-50 stab, it's not amazing to me. It would be more amazing to me if everything lined up and it gave us an otherwise unknowable historical scientific account of the beginning of the universe. But as you say, that's not even what Genesis is trying to do. So I don't. In other words, I don't understand how this even
I'm not
pertains to
saying
the
that
motion.
Genesis is trying to unfurl I'm saying that Genesis is making a statement about creation, and the statement about creation has a very startling scientific implication. Because if there was a creation, then there obviously wasn't something,
Sure.
and then there was something.
But I mean, it's not just science which can tell us that the universe had a beginning. I mean, like there are lots of philosophical arguments that people have made. Perhaps most famously,
Got one.
Well,
How hard is it to believe that God could make something
You're roboting, Roger.
okay?
Robot.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Bill?
go on.
Okay. Yeah. It's not hard to believe that God could actually create in one day. If He could make an earth in itself in one day, or make any of this work, they don't want to wrap their head around the fact that it's powerful that could make these things in one day.
Well, exactly. I mean, but he's God, isn't he? He can speak something and it happens.
If he created it all,
Yeah.
I don't know why they gotta he was spread it apart in like long periods of time. No, it has to be like long periods of time. And he made it work proper, or it would fall apart now, right? The world would collapse on itself.
Hello, Terrell, Chris.
And where?
Hold on,
Sorry.
2 seconds. Hello, Terrell. Terrell. I don't know how to pronounce that. It's Terrell. Chrysostomo. Atheists believe in God. Even God says you shall not commit adultery. And atheists just deny this because atheists love to commit adultery. Well, they do. Robot and Roger.
One more thing, and I forgot.
Robot.
Robot Roger again.
Aye,
How about now?
you're fine now.
Yeah. Holy crap! What was I saying? Oh yeah. And where in the Bible does it say anything about a universe? Like in all creation, they say there's. It doesn't. It's not described. We don't have any evidence of it to start with. So why is that part of this discussion at all? Doesn't make any sense. No.
I know. It mentions the earth, as in creation, the skies, the firmament, the stars, the sun and moon. You know what I mean? The waters above, the waters below, and us and animals. That's it.
So what this boy is, even the Christian guy here, he's accepting a universe with all these planets that could be other life at other places. That's basically what he's.
What does universe even mean?
I know.
Universe? Yeah. One
It
verse.
sounds like one verse, you know what I mean? So what's it doing? Talking about a song? You know what I mean?
One verse.
Oh, one verse in a book.
Aye. Aye.
So get back on the Bible, dude, and quit talking about the science and the universe. I
Aye.
thought this was a biblical discussion.
Well,
Well,
talking science and then brings up philosophy as well. Like, you know,
Well, that's it. Is if philosophy is a science. It's ridiculous.
Al Ghazali, who argues against for the impossibility of a past infinite universe, and I think does so quite convincingly, with no reference to redshifting and no reference to scientific hypotheses. So it's perfectly possible for somebody to take a pretty studious and educated guess at the fact that the universe had a beginning long before the scientific method told us
did
that
you hear
was the
that
case.
little?
I'm not saying that it's not possible to make philosophical.
Did you hear that little about scientific hypothesis?
Actually, put it back.
No reference to scientific hypothesis, so it's just waffle.
Well, the science came long after the Bible or creation, so
Well, that's it.
Who's telling the truth?
Hey, Gematria, good to see you. Good to see you. And God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God said, "I command light to shine," and the light started shining. And God said, and He said, and He said, and He said, exactly.
And there's evidence for that.
Absolutely. There's Vicky talking in her sleep again. I know what she's saying, but she's talking.
You said you rock, Roger?
I noticed that. Yesterday she said something like,
That'd be that funny if she was saying that in her sleep.
it would be.
That would be weird.
Sometimes I can make out what she's saying, sometimes I can't. You know. Yesterday she said something like, yesterday morning she said something like, or 2 days ago she said something like, I was on talking to my mum on the phone earlier. She hasn't spoken to her mum in years. She didn't like her mum, so that's not happening. So
my granddaughter was talking all day today, and I couldn't make out it. But at the end of she would scream like "ah!" like she had finished. Ah! I couldn't make out a word of it, man. Not a bit.
Jamaica says uni means one, I would say, and verse means spoken. So one spoken.
One spoken verse, yeah.
Mm.
That's quite a voice, though, dude. It could create the world and the earth.
Absolutely, man. The voice of God.
Like Aslan, isn't it? It's like Aslan, I think. He
I
spoke
think that's what
Narnia into existence.
Yeah. I think that's what Lewis was making reference to Genesis.
Yeah, I think so as well, yeah.
Oh, definitely.
The sons and daughters of Adam and Eve. Yeah. The
Mhm.
daughters of Eve, the sons of Adam. Yeah.
That's it.
Arguments, and of course, as you know, there was a tradition in ancient Greece of making philosophical arguments all over the place.
So maybe that's why
let me keep going. It's my time. Let me pose questions.
I'm trying to answer your question. Maybe if you ask me how would they know, isn't this astounding? I would say, well, maybe they just had a philosophical tradition that taught the beginning of the universe, and that's where they got it from.
Except that
it's not inconceivable.
It's not inconceivable, but it's not likely, because when we think of the tradition of Western civilization, we speak of Athens and Jerusalem. We speak of the origins of philosophy starting in about the 8th century BCE, and then really developing first in Greece. And then we talk about the tradition of revelation developing in ancient Jerusalem. Yep. So was there a hidden philosophical tradition? Possible, but probably unlikely. Okay. Let's proceed to the issue of the veracity of some of the historical events described in the Bible. Mm-hmm. Would you say that figures like Jeremiah, David, are these historical figures or mythological figures?
I'd say I don't know for certain, but I would say that the Bible is certainly attempting to paint them as historical figures.
Forget what it's attempting to do. You've been trying to.
So I don't know, but
you don't know.
I'm
no
happy
idea.
to say yes.
Okay, so on a.
I mean, I would predict yes. I would say yes.
You would say yes.
That's what I would imagine. Yeah.
Okay. Do you think that Sodom and Gomorrah are historical cities?
Probably, yeah.
Probably, yes. Would you say that Pontius Pilate was a real person?
Yes.
Yes.
Sure.
Okay. Would you say that? All right. Now, these statements that you're saying now. Mm-hmm. Were in no way known to be true mm-hmm. until recent decades.
Some of those, I'm not sure.
all the ones I mentioned.
If you're talking about like archaeology,
I'm talking biblical
developments.
archaeology. Let me give you an example of what we're
Archaeology
talking
can't
about.
prove the historical existence of a person very easily.
Well, let me go into this a little bit here.
And also, I want to make sure we're using the time wisely here. You could give me a sound archaeological bit of evidence that all of these people existed. That
It's his time. Let him use it how he wants. Don't try and direct him how to use his time.
He's trying to win a debate, obviously.
This is a tactics, but I still prefer this set out to how we do debates. You know what I mean? Online and that.
in no way tells us about the truth of the stories that are attributed to them.
No, it does. Well, let me put it this way. For many centuries, this is a whole tradition of biblical scholarship in the 19th century. In fact, really until in some cases 10, 15, or 20 years ago, there was absolutely no evidence historically for the existence, for example, of a Hezekiah, Jeremiah, David, let alone actual locations for David's palace.
Sure.
Hezekiah's
tomb.
All right. Hezekiah's
his tunnels.
Tunnels. Now, let me tell you something I discovered. I was getting a tour recently, a few months ago, in Israel from the guys at Hebrew University, and they were talking about an archaeologist named Elliot Mazar, who's what she calls herself a biblical archaeologist. She's not a Christian or even a believer, but the way that she does archaeology is this. She has the Bible in one hand and the sort of the pickaxe in the other. And the approach to it is pretty simple. It is, I want to find David's palace. Now, no one has ever heard of David's. I mean, David's palace is in the Bible, but there's no independent corroboration of it at all. There's a foundation in Jerusalem called the City of David Foundation. They have a little office. Dr. Elliot Mazar walks in their office and says to them, you have to move your office because the palace of David is in the ground underneath your office. And these guys are like, how would you know that? And Dr. Mazar says, because if you read the Bible, it will tell you that David, when he built his palace, brought in Phoenician builders who brought materials from Phoenicia and also brought Phoenician building expertise. The Phoenicians were apparently the builders of the day. And so Dr. Mazar says, we have found Phoenician seals, Phoenician coins, Phoenician inscriptions here. And so I predict that the palace is right underneath here because the Bible tells me that that's how that palace was built. So
David's palace exists.
David's palace is there for you to see today.
Okay.
And it is in the exact location of where it was said to be. And what I'm getting at is the archaeological approach here is to use...
That's what I mean as well, though. It's not just the Bible. I mean, the Bible's convincing enough, especially when you're working with the Holy Spirit, that's for sure. But there is archaeological proof and stuff that can be verified from the Bible as well.
Why wouldn't there be? You know, if everything in Bible actually happened and these places were real, then we should be able to find them, and we do.
Exactly.
And what Bible's talking about must be true then.
And possibly found the stuff that people like the Tower of Babel and Noah's Ark and stuff like that. That's a good possibility that's been found as well. Without a doubt.
Use the Bible as an archaeological tool. The location of Sodom and Gomorrah. There was a lot of speculation that said Sodom and Gomorrah were cities over here or cities over there, but actually makes no sense because A, what we know about Sodom and Gomorrah is that they were once flourishing cities. 2, they were burned to ashes. 3, Abraham supposedly could see the smoke from a long ways away. And so these locations of Sodom and Gomorrah were never found until recently. By recently, I mean recent decades. An archaeologist, again in the Elliot Mazar tradition, takes the Bible and says, for Sodom and Gomorrah to exist, it's not enough to just go looking and see if we find stuff and go, hey, is this Sodom and Gomorrah? Let's actually follow the tracks of the Bible. Let's follow the map provided admittedly in very sketchy terms. The Bible is not trying to give you a map, but it's giving you clues. And based on these clues, the actual Sodom and Gomorrah is located, and you dig into it, and guess what? You find the remains of an ancient city, and you also find ash and debris. In other words, there was an ancient city there. It was completely burned to the ground. So one of the great cities of the ancient world then becomes an absolute nothing, and has been an absolute nothing since. And not only does the Bible describe these events, but it says exactly that. That these great cities will cease to exist and will never be resurrected again as they have not been to this day.
If I may, because I'm beginning to...
I forgot to add that they're peppered with brimstone as well.
I was about to say the scorching as well. Scorch, that's what I was about to say. Yeah.
So that adds validity to the Bible story, right?
Well, that adds validity that God rained down fire from heaven. You know, why would it be peppered in brimstone?
Absolutely.
That's in the story, though, right? And like, here's another one. How did Joshua stop the sun?
Well, exactly.
That's evidence toward our.
It's also like down at where they found Red Sea crossing, and all sand is turned to glass. You know,
did they find chariots in there?
Fire, you know?
They found chariots in the same spot too, like Egyptian chariots.
That's it.
In the Red Sea. Yeah, they did. So that obviously happened.
There's plenty of archaeological proof at that, man.
Yeah.
The scriptural archaeological proof. So
they're taking the Old Testament, picking it up, following the story, and they're finding these things, right?
Yeah. And then you've got the confirmation of the Dead Sea Scrolls. You've got confirmation of prophecy within the Scripture and Dead Sea Scrolls. It's all there. I mean,
like Mount Sinai, they claimed were in Egypt, didn't they, for the longest time, and then turns out it's in Saudi Arabia, and also turns out that it's only mountain in a range of mountains with a black top.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
So while we asking questions about the validity of the Bible, I don't think there's any real questions to be asked.
See, not from my point of view, definitely not. I see plenty of proofs in that, and it does make me wonder, why the hell do people not even believe in a God? I mean, the creator is not enough. Like say, just knowing from flat earth, the creator is enough. But even people beyond that, like they don't believe at all in a God. How? I think you've got to. That's got to be lying to yourself if you don't believe in a God at all. You must believe in, even if you don't like him. Surely you can't just think.
Even Eric Dubay agrees there's a creator. He's smart enough to do that.
Well,
he doesn't like him. You can obviously tell that by the way he talks. Yeah.
Was that? But it's mad. It's mad to say there isn't a creator.
What makes me laugh though is I guarantee that nearly everybody, barring Christians, or Christians before they were Christians, use the word Jesus Christ, but yet it never existed. So why does everybody use that name?
Why does everybody talk about him? That's a good question.
Exactly right.
You're pretty popular, dude. Yeah.
Well, that's it. And nobody else. You don't say, you stub your toe. You don't go, oh, Buddha.
I'm not in a Chinese monastery either, so.
It's just mental.
I suspect this isn't a question. I might just jump in here. Sure. Yeah. Okay. So the authors of the Hebrew Bible. So
my conclusion.
So if I might answer the question. I mean, it is your time, but I need to be able to speak as well. The Bible contains accurate data about where archaeologically we can find the ruins of ancient cities. Okay, that's not too extraordinary to me. I have no problem saying that the people who wrote these texts knew where these places were with exact precision. And in fact, notice what's happening. Notice what's happening, in my view. What's happening is that the Bible is a historical text and a scientific text when it needs to be, and it's not one when you don't want it to be. So when I said a moment ago, here's a relatively mundane historical fact about the Gospels, you said, well, the fact that some mundane historical fact should undermine Christianity is ludicrous. But now you're telling me that a mundane historical fact is enough to buttress Christianity. I don't think you can have your cake and eat it too in that case.
I'm not trying to have my cake and eat it too. I'm simply saying that if somebody gives a true account of events,
It's a point in having a cake if you're not going to eat it. Good
Nothing
to have
to do
your
with
cake.
cake.
No, exactly. Nothing to do with cake. But if you got it, you're going to eat it.
I don't have
complete
cake. I don't have cakes. I will eat it all.
Just really, yeah. It's kind of where I'm at as well. You know what I mean? Oh, hiya, Joe. How you doing, man? Good to see you. Good to see you.
with small details that are incidental to the narrative. The Bible refers to very minor figures at times. Let's take, for example, Caiaphas. Caiaphas is one of the two high priests who is present at Jesus' trial. We don't even know his first name. He's mentioned as Caiaphas. The historian Josephus calls him Josephus Caiaphas. And that is the only indication from Josephus, and only one source, and a source writing a little later, of what this guy's name even was. And until recently, a few decades ago, there was absolutely no corroboration that there was ever a guy even named Caiaphas. Except now, not only do we have inscriptions with his name, we actually have his bones.
But Dinesh, what does this matter?
Okay, so what I'm getting at
what
is...
does this matter at all to the question?
Why does it matter?
Why does this matter?
Because if somebody is giving a true account of events, a guy comes running into this room and he goes, "Guess what? I've just witnessed a murder." He's going to give us a lot of accounts and a lot of detail, right? Now,
look, if somebody was trying to claim that Moses parted the Red Sea, and I said, well, how could you possibly know that's the case? And you said, well, look, we didn't have any evidence that a guy called Moses existed, but we've discovered this rock where someone wrote Moses was here.
No.
Great,
no,
okay, we know Moses existed, and maybe we know where he existed. But the actual events, the stories that are...
Bloody ridiculous example.
Yeah, he's like going to the John and reading Jimmy was here.
Yeah. Moses wouldn't have wrote Moses was here. He would have put Moses was hither.
Well,
yeah, I just thought of something. You know how the 12 tribes of Judah had judges, and each one of the judges wore the breastplate with the gems in it.
Mm-hmm.
That influenced everything up to Darth Vader. You ever seen Darth Vader's vest?
Oh yeah,
he's wearing a gem-coated vest.
Yes,
just like the judges for the 12 tribes of Judah.
I get you.
That's how far that influence reaches. The Bible goes through all pop culture too, even in all divisions. So yeah, there's a lot of things that kind of validate it for me in my own mind. Like I'm sure there were 12 tribes of the Judah that were in the desert, and they were very organized. They were organized enough to conquer the land of Canaan and take it over. Yeah,
that's right. That's right.
Well, like around Mount Sinai and that, there's what they call them old carvings in stones, and there's a name for it. Can't think what it is now. Like, but there's
hieroglyph?
Say again.
Hieroglyph.
Not hieroglyphs, but like when you find them old Indian carvings in stones, we have them weird looking like alien creatures, what they've carved and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Carve it in rock, and I forget what they call it anyway. But there's loads of carvings around that area, like where they're worshipping a cow and stuff. You know what I mean? So the people were carving things in. It might not necessarily say Moses like, but there were things recorded carved into stone while Moses were up mountain.
Yeah, so they were doing their little sacrifice while partying down at the bottom of
and then also, if you look into like one of them videos where they supposedly found this ark, they also found like these great big stones, and they surmised that they were like anchor stone things.
Aye.
And on them, there is literally things that literally say that they were like Moses and his family and that, like, and there's crosses carved into it and that, like. So
up north, they call those scrimshaw. They tell stories they carved into whale bones and tusks. They tell stories like that. What happened? Actual events. They carved it out in the stone, in the bone. So that's where I think that's where if you take the scrimshaw and scripture, one and the same thing. It's like they're telling the story in a script. It's script show.
Well, it's like, I mean, we've got like Noah in the Bible, in the Old Testament, the flood. But there is other cultures now that they've got the same story. It's just not Noah; it's somebody else, and it's a different type of boat or whatever. But they've all got that flood kind of story. You know what I mean? So,
if it was a worldwide flood, yeah, there may be other cultures that listened to God too and knew it was coming. They prepared. Yeah.
But I mean, that wasn't my point. But I'm just saying they've all got that story. So I mean, it's got to have come from somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I'm under the impression that the fossil record proves a worldwide flood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, the fossil layers, yeah. Like
the layers, sedimentary layers, definitely. They say it's just difficult, like it's different layers for different periods of time. I just think it's things got mixed up in this separate according to the layers, like the densities or whatever.
It happened fast, and that's why. Can you remember when we were talking to U.M. Opt, and I was telling him about trees that they've found that are stood up, and all these sedimentary layers are built up around them? I mean, how is that possible over?
Exactly.
Flood.
Exactly. None of the stories. They might sound okay, but when you compare them with something else, and try and work out how they work together, they fail every time. Fails every time.
Like, there's some parts of the fossil layer inland in large continents where there's sea life that is buried where there are no oceans. You'll find seashells and
the top of mountains and stuff. Yeah.
And fish bones, fossils.
Well,
Weird, huh? Could have been a flood.
Right. Could have been something to do with that, I think. Easy.
Attributed to these characters are in no way supported by anything that you're saying. And that's the important thing. I think that's what people are interested in. I doubt that anybody in this room, and they can make themselves known if they're here, I don't think anybody in this room either thinks that it's important or is troubled in their skepticism by the existence of these people and the real existence of the places that are described in the Old Testament.
Right, and neither do I think that a single Christian believer in the world would be shaken by anything that you've said today. So let's really try to meet in the middle on the stuff that really matters. And I think what we're really saying, when you mentioned the parting of the Red Sea, to me, it's like, now we're talking. Because we're talking about...
These are different.
These are categorically different types of events.
I mean what you just said, these are different because people are troubled by what I say and they're not troubled by what you say. Because for an atheist to say that Hezekiah existed doesn't mean they can't be an atheist. For a Christian to say that Jesus didn't historically rise from the dead means that they're not a Christian.
Correct.
So these are different. They're asymmetrical.
This guy...
They're asymmetrical, so let's...
This guy doesn't shake me one bit. I mean, he claims to be an atheist. You better prove God doesn't exist then if you want to claim to be an atheist, mate.
Yeah. Instead of just trying to disprove the Bible.
Just saying you're an atheist and there's no God is nothing. It means no. You know what I mean?
No, it means nothing.
It just shows me he's ignorant.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it, man. And a lot of times, blooming willful ignorance. In general, atheists, I think that they just have a grudge against God, so they decide not to believe in him, which is silly. Like, you decide not to believe in him because you've got a grudge. That means he's not real. But then when you lose it, you know what I mean? Oh, it's all your fault, God. You know what I mean? It's like, who are you shouting at? Who are you shouting at if he doesn't exist?
So I used to knock about with this kid, and they were like anti-Bible, and we used to argue all the time. And he literally used to stand, jumping up and down, pointing at the sky, saying, "I hate God." And you don't believe in him, mate? What are you doing?
Who are you talking to?
What are you pointing at the sky?
I know, jumping up and down, pointing at the sky, like, wow.
Oh, I've seen it. It's just madness, isn't it?
Let's pick up the...
So it matters when the historical elements are wrong in terms of our grand conclusion. For the Christian, it matters when the history gets it wrong. For the atheist, it doesn't matter when the history gets it right.
What I'm saying is that if someone gives a true account of events, it is normal for the accounts to vary, to differ, in some cases to have minor contradictions. Sure. The real question is did the thing that's being described actually happen?
Okay, so
let's turn to that.
Do you think, for example, that the slaughter of the Amalekites that I mentioned before actually happened?
Probably, of course.
And if that happened, I mean, we haven't spoken about the concept of moral truth. I'd like to get the time to do so.
We can come to that, but let's stay with what I think you were about to get to, which I think is the heart of the matter that we haven't even gotten to, and that's this. The Bible is where the Bible is the most unbelievable is in its account of astounding and miraculous events.
Sure.
Right? Healings. Let's take the most outrageous event of all, which is, let's just say, bringing a guy back from the dead.
Yeah.
Presented in the Bible as a miracle.
Talking about Lazarus here, rather than
I'm talking here about Lazarus. Yes, Lazarus. Perfect. Now, for a Christian would say this: the Bible doesn't try to prove it, it simply asserts it. In fact, it presents it as a truth of revelation, if you will.
That's not what it's trying to do. It's not trying to prove it. It's just, like you said, it's just narrating it, telling us this is how it happened. It's not trying to prove, look, this happened, and this is how it happened, and this is why. You know what I mean? This is everything round about it, and here's the proof for it. No, it's just telling you it happened.
I think somebody was on Flat. This is one of his reviews he did, and he's like, "What, these people just wrote down what they saw happen?" And I'm like, "Yeah, they saw it happen. They wrote it down." Okay.
I use Sam having little arguments in the chat areas. Come on, you're friends, really. Come on.
Well, God revealed this. It's a miracle, which is to say that it is not something that happens within the seeming known laws of nature, which we'll talk about in a moment. And the question really here is, are these kinds of miracles possible? If you say, are they implausible, or are they rare, or is it difficult to believe, the Christian is like right with you.
I think the question is, did they happen?
Did they happen, right? And here's where the Christian and the atheist are on common ground, because the Christian and the atheist would both say,
At least he's polite. He poured his opponent a glass of water. You know what I mean? You don't get that in our debates, do you?
They throw it in your face.
Yeah, if they could, yeah. If they could.
That based upon ordinary experience, it can't happen.
Sure.
Because otherwise it wouldn't be a miracle.
So what evidence might we have to suggest that these miraculous events as described in the Gospels did happen?
I'm saying that because the miraculous events, the Christian would simply say, if God exists, miracles are obviously possible.
Sure, I agree.
The atheist has a higher burden. And that is, the atheist has to say that whether or not God exists, which is not the topic of our debate here, miracles are impossible. Because if they're possible...
They don't have to say that.
You don't have to say that?
No, of course they don't have to say that.
You don't have to say that. You say it is possible for a man to be raised from the dead.
I can say that that's possible without thereby...
But you're saying, but this particular one didn't happen, but the event is possible.
Without thereby in any way telling us anything about whether it happened as reported to
Is
Lazarus.
it possible is it possible for the Red Sea to be parted?
Sure, why not?
It is.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean,
is it possible for
yes, but what does that do for us? Is it possible that Muhammad flew to heaven on a winged horse?
Okay, so here's our problem.
Well, hold on. Yes or no?
Yes, of course it's possible.
Of course it's possible. So that means that, the miraculous events as described in Islam, you've got...
But not probable. And definitely not true.
So how could atheists say that God raised Lazarus from the dead? I don't see how an atheist could say that. He doesn't believe in God to start with.
Aye. Certainly. Oh.
And now he's talking
Such a
about
higher burden of
horses.
proof than the Muslim does if you're having a debate with a Muslim.
But
because you have to say that's impossible.
I am not trying to prove the veracity of this or that miracle.
I don't care who's the clown. Stop clowning around and just shake hands and make up. Metaphorically, figuratively. I mean, We've got enough hassle with the bloody anti-flat earthers now. There's no need to fall out between us because you don't agree on something. I mean, I'm not into numerology and all that either, but do you know what I mean? He's the one, as long as they're not harming each other, and as long as it's not being pushed is something, is an agenda or something like that. I mean, I don't think numerology and all that's good. You know what I mean? But as long as, I don't think it's something we should be falling out over. You know what I mean? We get enough of that crap anyway.
I freely admit that I can't do
I'm
that.
not trying to prove the veracity of this
But
or
you
that
can't
miracle.
disprove it either.
No, of course I can't disprove it.
Exactly.
But that's
So-
not my task yet. That's like me saying, you know, I think that, I don't know, to take a Shakespearean example, I think that, you know, spoiler alert, you know.
Well, we don't need a Shakespearean example.
Romeo took the poison.
Let's take an actual.
And if you said, well, hold on, how do you know that actually happened? And I said, well, you can't prove that it didn't.
Well, let's pick an actual example that pertains to Christianity. Let's talk about something I raised earlier.
We've got about 5 minutes before Q&A,
Okay.
by the
Do
way.
you believe that there is life after death?
I don't know.
You don't have no idea.
Yeah, I'm agnostic on that.
So if I say that there's life after death, am I being unreasonable?
I don't think so.
Well played, Derek. Bless you guys.
Not at all.
Oh, it depends on your reasons.
It depends on
of
my
course.
reasons, but
Yeah.
what I'm saying is if I were to tell you that there is no empirical way
Yeah.
to prove this one way or the other, my faith, let's say, that there's life after death is just as reasonable as someone who says there isn't.
Sure, it depends on what the reasons that are given are, of course, but sure, that's...
We're talking about the reasons that are actually available, not the person who's giving a reason may give the best or not
No, look,
the best
it's
reason.
pedantic, but I'm happy to say yes. I just want to be careful what I say because people might get the wrong impression of my beliefs. But yeah, sure. I mean, sure. We've got two people. One says life after death. One says not. They're both just as reasonable as each
They're
other.
both just as reasonable.
Sure. Yeah, that could be.
Okay,
that could be the
excellent.
case.
Okay, good. I wanted to clarify that point particularly because
What's
what
this
it
got to
really
do with the truth of the Bible?
well,
Is it me, or should an atheist not have any beliefs?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
According to them, like.
I believe, and a belief in, don't have a belief in anything. They haven't got faith in anything, which is a contradiction because a belief in nothing is a belief in something. I mean,
Like
it's
yesterday, I was on listening to QE do an atheist who believes in evolution, but he also believes in God. We just automatically right away just wrote him off. Dude. It's just you can't be an atheist and believe in God. So the validity of whatever he came out of his mouth after that was nothing. Like, all right, he was trying to prove evolution and adaptation as actual theories, but he never actually gave any theories or any explanations and didn't show any evidence. But yet he still said that Darwin was right about everything in the middle of what he was saying. Okay. And then he would say like Darwin wasn't right about everything when he got to one point. Like, but at the very beginning, he said, I believe in God, but I believe in evolution at the same time. You can't believe in both.
no, of course not.
God never evolved anything.
Gnostic, not bloody atheist, or just contradictions. You know, craziness.
all I am saying is that the claims of miracles, you and I are not going to be in a position to go back and see whether or not Jesus raised a man from the dead,
Well,
right?
it's not all you say. It's not all you're saying.
The
because
Christian is perfectly willing to take that on faith.
you think that did happen, and you're taking it on faith, and that's fine. Like,
Yes.
more power to you. And in fact, I envy your ability to believe things despite what
Well,
seems to
don't
me
you
like
take a lot of things on faith?
Of course, yeah, absolutely.
Plenty of things on
Yeah,
faith.
well, yeah, all the time.
So
the
all the
time.
things that you take on faith
Yeah.
are
Takes
things
his
that you
entire
think
worldview on
are
faith.
not unreasonable, but
Say again, Michael.
Say again.
Takes his entire worldview on faith.
Absolutely.
The
Absolutely.
evolution, the Big
Evolution,
Bang.
heliocentrism. Yeah, that's it. Everything's on faith. Just because it says it's a fact in a textbook, you're taking it on faith that textbook's right.
Without any proof, no proof at all. No.
Proof.
I mean, if you've got to hear Jesus bringing a man back from dead or a monkey becoming a man, I know which one I'm going to lean towards.
Boy. Boy.
Yeah, I was dragging my knuckles on the way in tonight, guys.
Wow. Yeah, I know what I'd believe for sure.
The things that Christians take on faith are to you unreasonable because they can't be corroborated with historical evidence.
Is that what I said? I don't remember saying that.
So are the Christian beliefs on faith just as reasonable as everything that you believe on
It
faith?
can be, depending on the reasons, but the veracity of the gospel accounts and the Old Testament prophecy, I think, is unreasonable to believe in. Not life after death, that's fine, you can believe that. Not like, a man called Jesus rose from the dead, fine. But the idea that the Bible comports with reality either in mythological sense, in an allegorical sense, in a moral sense, or in a in the sense of historicity.
Let's talk about the moral sense, since you raised it, and we'll just talk about it briefly.
I want to make sure we've got time for Q&A. But look, I can reread the text if you like. The Amalekites.
Well, let's not talk about the Amalekites, in part because here's the problem. For most Christians, the Old Testament is different than the New and is seen through the light of the New. So
but if
you want to go to, Dennis Prager, who has written about this from a Jewish perspective, has written about the Deuteronomy, the Book of Kings, the Amalekites.
Sure, we can bring him out
what he considers
later,
to be the justifiable massacre of the Canaanites. I don't really want to go there because.
Well, I know why you don't want to go there.
Well, the reason I don't want to go there, the Old Testament is full of horrific massacres.
Yes, and
that is hold on.
Massacres which are ordained.
Massacres which appear to be ordained by Yahweh directly.
Sure.
Agreed. And
why are you saying Yahweh instead of God? Why are you
because
trying to distance yourself from the God of the Old Testament?
Well, I'm not trying to distance myself. I'm simply trying to say that any reader.
Yeah, well, I mean, why would that be distancing? What?
I think they're one and the same.
I mean, I think saying just God is more distancing than Yahweh. Yahweh is more personal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I would say. I mean, there's nothing wrong with saying God, obviously, but yeah, I don't get where he's coming from there.
Well,
maybe he's thinking he's saying Yeshua as in Jesus or something. I don't know.
I think he's thinking Jehovah.
Maybe. No.
Because of all the plights of the Israelites in the Old Testament, where they went to war and killed a whole civilization off.
Aye. Yeah. But he shouldn't be afraid to go to the Old Testament.
Yeah. Well,
why is that the first time you've used the word Yahweh in this conversation?
I'll tell you why. Because there is a movement within the Bible itself that you are completely missing.
Do not think that I have come to abolish the law or the prophets. I have not come to abolish them, but to fulfill them. For truly I tell you, until heaven and earth disappear, not the smallest letter.
Jesus is our passage to the Father, not God, because Jesus is God. It is our passage to God, but through God himself. Jesus is our passage to the Father. The only way to the Father is to the Son. They're both God.
But Yahweh is how God introduced himself to Abraham, right?
Yeah. Yep. Aye, absolutely.
And he also said, "You can't look on my face or read my name." Right.
Aye.
So he just called him Yahweh. That may not have been the name he gave him personally.
Aye.
That was a name for us mortal men. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Not the least stroke of a pen will by any means disappear from the law until everything is accomplished. Therefore, anyone who sets aside one of the least of these commands and teaches accordingly will be called least in the kingdom of heaven, but whoever practices and teaches these commands will be called great in the kingdom of heaven. Jesus said that in the Sermon on the Mount, referring to his fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy and law.
Referring to his fulfillment of Old Testament prophecy.
Old Testament law. And what I'm referring to here is an Old Testament law, which you're now trying to distance yourself from and say that it's sort of different to the New Testament.
I'm saying that
that's not what Jesus thought.
I'm saying you're missing the developmental track of the Bible that is obvious to any intelligent reader. Let me give you one example of what I'm talking about.
Tell me about the Amalekites. Tell me what the developmental
It's not about the Amalekites. It's about the way that the whole story of the Bible changes in tone and.
But he is trying to get him to go to parts of the Bible that people think are really like sort of controversial. You know what I mean? That's what he's trying to do, to make it a kind of like poison of the well. But I wouldn't be scared to go to it. Definitely not. But I wouldn't be forced to go to it if I was going in a different direction. So maybe that's what he's doing. He didn't want to go there because that's not where he's trying to make his point. But he's trying to directing down that path.
Mood and message.
But
I mean,
Dinesh,
for example,
help me out here.
Oh, okay. So I thought somebody spoke.
Like, just tell me where, any way you like. Tell me where this fits into that trajectory.
Okay, I'll tell you
this
where.
fits in.
We have just a couple minutes, guys, so let's wrap it up before the Q&A.
Just tell me.
The
just tell me where this
the
fits in.
underlying message of the Old Testament is an eye for an eye. The Amalekites are the enemies of the Israelites. The Israelites will crush them with the same venom that the Amalekites would have crushed the Israelites. That's called an eye for an eye.
Including
now,
the
hold
children,
on, hold on.
The children, the infants,
The children, the
cattle,
infants,
the sheep, the camels, the donkeys.
Yeah, that Dennis Prager says yes, but my point is different. You will not find that spirit
not
at
enough,
all in the New Testament. In fact, in the New Testament, you've got a spirit of forgiveness. So what I'm getting at is to pretend
probably
like
do
you
with some
don't
forgiveness
have
after
this.
that. I mean,
Christianity is named after Christ. It's based on Christ as a fulfillment of the Old Testament. But what does fulfillment mean? It actually means transcendence. In Abraham's time, blood sacrifices are normal, right?
That can't
when
be right,
Christ
Dinesh.
comes as a sacrifice, Christ is the lamb. The point is, those blood sacrifices aren't
that can't be
necessary
right.
anymore.
Listen,
That's the Christian reading. And you keep filibustering me because you know that the Bible is showing a movement in a direction, and to miss the movement is to miss the Bible. Let's look at God in the Bible.
Hold on,
Let me
hold
make one quick
on.
point about God in the Bible.
There's nothing quick about what you're doing, Dinesh. There's nothing quick about what you're doing. I need to be allowed to respond to what you're saying. I'm getting sick whenever
You're
I have these
cross-examining me
conversations.
on the justice of smiting the Amalekites. Honestly, I don't see any justice in it, but I do agree that was the eye for an eye.
Oh, look, when God flooded the earth, it was because all flesh was corrupt.
Aye.
It also tells us in Genesis that there were giants, but there were also giants afterwards. So
Right.
there's something going off there with wiping all these people out. Something to do with this Nephilim business. I think.
Yeah, corrupted bloodlines. I'd say definitely. It was. I think it was about that, getting the corrupted bloodlines gone because of what the church done, and then hence the Nephilim. Yeah.
I mean, some of these ites, if you read some of the descriptions of them, like, you know, they are giants.
Aye.
That we can prove there were giants and probably still are.
Goliath was one of them, wasn't he?
But Og.
I've seen a few walking about 8 foot tall.
I've got a cousin that's like 8'3". He was. His name was Steve Mitchum. And he used to come over to my grandma's house, and he'd have to crouch down to get in the door. And,
he was in grandma's house.
yeah.
Wow, man, 8 foot. That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, 8 foot, you'd be touching my ceiling probably.
Yeah, I bumped in a couple of guys in the mall too that were like around 7'6", almost 8 feet here and there.
Guaranteed
walking around. Yeah.
Basketball players, you're walking around. I mean, that's not walking. That's like leaping, giant leaps.
I got a question. What does that have to do with Christ fulfilling the prophecy? Why is he going to go back to the Old Testament? If Christ fulfilled it in the New Testament, all that stuff is atoned for. They don't have to sacrifice anything anymore. He fulfilled the prophecy.
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Absolutely.
Sacrificing animals were foretelling of Jesus, weren't it? That's what it was all about.
Well, Jesus being the lamb, sacrificial lamb. Mm-hmm.
Ethic of the Old Testament that is repudiated and transformed and transfigured in the New.
I've had this conversation so many times, most recently with William Lane Craig. At least he had the gall to just tell me that, yes, that was a moral thing for God to do. I get sick to death of people hand-waving away this genocide by some vague reference to the fact that Jesus came along to do something which somehow kind of undoes the immorality of it. Like, this is not an eye
You're into the toilet again.
for an eye.
Yeah.
This is a genocide of combatant men.
Sorry.
We're told that there's no darkness in God, that God's good. So, like I was saying last time, this is God's creation and he knows what's best for it. So if he's asking for women and children to be killed, then there's got to be a good reason behind it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me to think that there's some kind of genetical corruption going off explains it for me.
Innocent women and children and animals. Saul.
Go on, Raj.
Yeah, I was gonna say is like basically if God wanted to save everybody else and he sent his own son to stop all the nonsense, and he did, why not just accept it and go from that point on?
Yeah.
Why we got to dwell on what happened before?
Exactly. Yeah. But like some of them different heights, like some are like described as having like lion type faces or something with fangs and that, you know what I mean?
So maybe they weren't exactly men.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's the point, isn't it? But to just like accuse God of being this nasty, vengeful God who commits genocide, that don't fit in with God's character, does it? You know?
No.
Yeah.
I've never experienced that myself.
Certainly doesn't.
But I hear this argument a lot. I've even heard it from Jaron. Like,
yeah, I've listened to a couple of his rants on his show.
Yeah. See, Jaron might be all right and well, half all right at Flat Earth, but yeah, when it comes to Christianity, he hasn't got a frigging clue.
No.
I'm sorry. I mean, I still don't trust him.
You know what gets me? Yeah. What annoys me though is like, you believe what you want, Jaron, but why put other people's beliefs down? You know.
I think he should come on Flashlight's show. I think Flashlight would give him a run for his money.
I don't think he'd do it. Like,
David, get rid of
P-Brain's addressed a lot of his stuff that he said on Bible.
Get rid of what idiot? Are you on about each other, Derek and Gematria? I'm not going to ban either one of you. If you don't want to talk to each other, block each other, because I'm not going to ban you. Definitely not. If that's what you're asking, but yeah, I'm not going to do that. Just block each other. You won't be able to see each other's text messages. That's all I can suggest.
That's like grown men. Get to the end of your discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, just like I don't know. I block each other or work it out, guys. I wouldn't ban either one of you. You know what I mean? I haven't got any reason to do that.
Was punished by God for not killing all of the animals. Like
that is actually a ludicrous misreading of what's happening.
Let me just make a quick point. I have to make this point.
Okay.
I've got to read the text from Joshua as well.
Okay, and then we'll check in with the audience because we're probably. I think the audience is going to agree that we want this to keep going.
No, that's fine.
Instead of going to Q&A, but we'll check in just after Alex's point here.
I think it's important. Like, read these texts for yourself. There is no way that I'm misreading this text. We know that this is what's happening in the slaughter of Ai. That's a type of Canaanite. In Joshua, we're told that when Israel had finished killing all of the men in Ai, in the fields and in the wilderness, where they had chased them, and when every one of them had been put to the sword, the Israelites returned to Ai.
David, you can't put me in that situation where saying if not you're leaving. Just block Gematria. You don't have to see what Gematria is saying. Gematria hasn't given me a reason to block him. All I can suggest is just block each other. I mean, I'm not going to get rid of someone for no reason. Whether Gematria knows the gospel or not, Gematria hasn't shown me that he doesn't know the gospel. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't, even if someone didn't, I wouldn't block them for that anyway, because they can come to know the gospel, you know? What's that? Block, you won't see them anywhere on YouTube. I don't know if that happens. I don't know if you block them on one place, do you see them elsewhere in another? I don't know how it works. I only ever blocked one person, that was Aaron Armstrong.
And killed those who were in it. That is to say, that we're told that this is just because the promised land.
But remember, Derek, I don't see all of the chat. I don't concentrate completely on the chat. I mean, I do look now and again to see what's being said, and I don't see every single thing, and I don't go back up the chart. If I see like a context of something, I need to see the context of. I mean, if I was looking for something, then obviously it starts back up to a certain degree. But I'm not willing to get rid of anybody at this point. No.
Man,
It is what it is. I mean, I don't even like. So it's pushing gematria. Like we all know, we all have his own views on it. You know what I mean? But I don't think that is doing out that requires banning.
No, and I'm not.
I would say this. I keep seeing you posting some equals in and then a big long number. I don't even see what that proves at all. Like, you know, it's just numbers to me. But
Yeah, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with it.
you're welcome to do your own thing. Like maybe chill out with posting gematria stuff, and then that might help. I don't know, like, but I don't see why anybody needs banning.
No. I mean, I don't believe in numerology and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? I'd be a hypocrite to say that, like, I haven't been deceived in the past. Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying anybody's deceived. I'm not blaming anybody for anything. Do you know what I mean? I don't agree with numerology, but I'm not willing to ban someone just because I don't agree.
Is Gematria trying to push numerology as a gospel? Is that what he's doing?
I mean, Gematria puts plenty of scripture in there, and usually in good context as well, that I've seen. You know.
Yeah. So what's the problem with numbers? I saw.
Look, come on, Derek, don't leave because it's not fair on PJ, man.
It isn't fair. It isn't fair because I haven't seen it. Just because you're working off an emotion at the minute. You know what I mean? It's not about it's not about Gematria is not talking about the gospel. It's not about that at the minute. It's about your emotion. Just you obviously said earlier on. Look, I wish you all the best, and I pray all the best and all that for you. And then you kind of go back on that by doing this. It's not fair on me to do that, especially when I try and give everybody as much a chance as possible. I give everybody, all the flat earthers and people I know coming here, I give them all a spanner. I'm not willing to take a spanner off someone just so you can time them out. Why not just block them and you won't see what they say? It's going to make no difference to you. You won't see what they're writing, what they're typing.
Yeah.
But I dare see it already.
PJ's not your mom, guys. He's not here to watch over you. You can handle your own selves, right?
I know.
They're grown men.
Exactly.
You don't have to fight over petty stuff.
This happened before in flats as well. I'm sorry, Paula disappeared because flats didn't go up against somebody in chat. He maybe didn't see the thing or whatever. Oh no, sorry, no, that was something different. It was somebody else.
Still,
sorry, getting two stuff mixed up. Sorry, Paul, if you see this, it wasn't you. It was Sergio. Sergio didn't like it that flats let somebody say something about Jesus in his chat. He didn't even see it. So Sergio didn't like it and left. I mean, and that kind of things happen.
Derek, if that's the case, you can't prove a thing, then don't take it to heart, dude.
Exactly. If you just don't want to see him, just I don't want you to leave. So I mean, that's far from it. But I don't want to have to ban someone. You're not bribing me, but you're putting me in a spot too. I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that. I haven't seen. My conviction is not to ban them. You know what I mean? In a minute. He might come in some other day and say something terrible to me and ban. You know what I mean? But in a minute, Gematria hasn't said anything bad to me.
He's not in chat saying God's not real and attacking as faith and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think you need to just chill a little bit, Derek, on this one.
Yeah, Gematria, I don't know. I say numerology because I don't understand it properly. You know what I mean? That was just me saying that. I'm not saying it is what it is, but to me, that's what I call it because that's how it. Because I don't know much about it. I haven't looked into it that much. Basically, but not to the depths. Obviously, you do. So, F this.
You're not being fair, Derek, man.
I can't even get back far enough to see what he's trying to prove, let alone anything they're talking about.
It's not proving out.
I don't see the problem. You know, why can't you just block each other? If you just block gematria, you won't see what gematria says. What's the problem? Is that not a compromise? Because I'm not banning anybody. Right, no, I feel
They're taking cheap shots at each other.
I feel a bit awkward now. I'm just going to play the video. Derek, do what you want. I can't stop what you're doing, man. My advice is just block gematria. I'm not willing to.
Right, I want Derek to stay, but my issue is you can't set a PJ, ban someone, or I'm leaving. That's not fair.
No,
I don't agree with that, and I'm going to say I don't agree with it.
Yeah, your responsibility. You've got a responsibility as well. You've got an option to block. You said you've witnessed these things. I haven't looked back and seen any of these texts. Usually what gematria says is fine, what I've read. So I'm not willing. And even if there was a few that I don't agree with, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to agree with everybody on everything. I think you should take responsibility and just block gematria.
Was inhabited, and God's God, he's allowed to do this. So because the Israelites want that land, they have to go and chase out the eye. So they chase them into the wilderness. They chase after them. They slaughter them in the wilderness. They then turn around, come back into the city, and kill who's left. Who's left if the combatants have run away? The women and the children. This is intolerable, and I cannot have it simply waved away.
All right, hang on. Let me just for a second.
It can't happen. It can't keep happening.
Let's pause.
You're completely blind to the irony of what you're saying.
Dinesh, can we pause for just a second?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone who wants to go to Q&A right now, make a loud noise. Everyone who wants the discussion to continue on and eat up the Q&A time, cheer. Okay, sorry guys, we're gonna let them roll through Q&A.
All right, we might have some time.
Christianity invented the just war tradition, according to which the slaughter of women and children is out of bounds. Prior to Christianity, no one thought this. Everybody did it, and everybody today does it everywhere in the world, and we do it too. The bombing of Dresden, the bombing of Hamburg, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, the incineration of women and children is the normal course of war. I just watched a World War II documentary in which they interview an old bomber, a U.S. bomber pilot, and he goes, I was given a bombing mission to hit a target. I asked the U.S. authorities, who's in the building? They said 20,000 women and children. And this guy kind of breaks down. You can watch this on Netflix. And he goes, I'm like, what the hell? You want me to kill 20,000 women and children? He goes, we're supposed to be the good guys. And he goes, but I couldn't repudiate the order. It was an order, so I did it. So what I'm getting at is
that everybody does it.
It is not ethical. It is not, but I'm simply saying, Alex, that you are a product of the Christian morality that repudiates it now. You're standing on a Christian mountain and acting like, whoa, look at these Christians. They taught you to talk like this.
These people did not teach me to think like that.
They did.
These people were listening to their God who was telling them to slaughter innocent women and
right.
children.
The Amalek, the ancient Israelites were. But the ancient Israelites are not what taught you. What taught you is what taught you is the 1,000-year tradition of the early Christian church,
which came a bit too late for the Amalekites.
It came a bit too late for the Amalekites, to be sure.
Were the Israelite armies not instructed by the God that you believe in?
They were instructed by God.
And they were instructed...
Mr. Super Sidebinder, how you going, bro?
Hey, PJ.
Oh, wow. I was looking in chat then just to see. I see. Oh, you're here. How you doing, man? You good?
I popped right in on you.
You did. Good to see you, bro. You all right?
Good to see you too, man. Yeah, I've been sleeping like a tank, but I'm up and I'm at it.
Fair play, man. Fair play. Yeah, I've got one of the songs ready, downloaded to play after this.
Nice. They've been playing perfect, brother.
I can't even remember which one it is, but I've got one downloaded anyway.
Good.
Haskins one, I think.
Hey, Mr. Steinweider, are you doing any more the
So U.S. soldier, I think.
I'm sorry. Am I doing what?
The Mandela effect shows. You doing any more of those?
Yeah, we've been doing 6-hour streams. We've been running on 6 to 8 channels at a time. Man, we're reaching out there, brother.
Nice. That's brilliant, man. That's
There's a
fantastic.
lot of those, man. I've said in a couple of nights. They're fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we go deep, man. We've got Sandy working with us now, and she's got folders. She's been at this for like 7 years, and she's got really organized folders together for us to share. And she works really hard, man. Like if something new comes up, she's got something on it. Like
Is
the same day.
that her who's got that website?
What's that?
That lady you're talking about. So
Yeah, Sandy Diva.
Yeah.
I like her.
Yeah,
She's
like
fun.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I'm working with good people, man.
That's brilliant.
I didn't mean to interrupt your stream, but that nonsense that was going on in chat, man, it's like you said, it's not your responsibility for what other people say or what's going on in chat or whatever. I mean, we have to be adult about these things. If you want to watch somebody, block them. You won't see them anywhere on YouTube. I've only blocked one person like you, PJ, and it's cool, man. I go in and I see other people talking to this person, and I'm like, I'm so relieved I've not had to see them in years.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The only thing about, because I'm on Flats's panel, when this person used to come on, I used to see it through Flats's chat because I'm on the panel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But yeah, when I'm not, then I don't see it. But he doesn't get in anymore, so that's
right.
a good. Yeah, but yeah,
I was saying the same thing. They should grow up and be adults about it, man.
has a place, dude. It can help you decode and maybe figure out where to research next. I don't think you should get your answers from gematria because that's divination, right?
Yeah.
That goes right to Deuteronomy. You're trying to decode things using math only and making decisions on math only. Are you going to marry math? Is math going to save you? Is math reality? Like none of those things are true, dude.
No, of course.
So Derek was getting upset because gematria was putting in chat these long strings of digits that wouldn't mean anything to anything but a computer, and telling us like these are the answers in this long string of stupid numbers, and that's not the answer. The answer is God, the Creator.
No, yeah, I believe so. Absolutely.
Not a string of numbers. You're not going to get your answers from, and you don't have to answer two numbers either.
No, of course not.
I do know some people who actually do that, though.
I don't think
people who. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely, I do too, but I don't associate with those people. I have this one saying, like, be careful who you follow. You may end up where they're going.
That's a good one.
That's true. But yeah, just take your own responsibility and ban each other. You know what I mean? Mind you, hold on. As a mod, I don't know if you can ban, but surely you can ban another mod as a mod.
You can still block them, I think.
You can block them.
Still block
them. That's all you got to do. You don't see them, everybody else will. So.
Yeah, but I knew like when I was when I blocked, I could block another mod, but I didn't. Hold on. I think I couldn't block just a normal person that wasn't a mod because you're a moderator. You're meant to see what they've got, what comes up. But if you block another mod, you can. I think. Yeah. But you can't block someone that's not a mod if you're a mod. I don't think.
I'm not sure how all of that works. I know for me, blocking takes them out of every place I go on YouTube.
Okay, that's good. But yeah, that's the thing.
The only people I've had to block is on Facebook, and it's usually just straight up trolls that are coming after flat earthers for the most part. They get annoying, dude. They won't stop. I had a guy talk to me for almost 6 weeks, asking me for maps, coordinates, and all the stuff that I'm supposed to be able to figure out for the flat earth over and over again. And then I look at his post, and he was constantly drunk and talking crap on the Facebook to start with to everybody else, regardless whether they were flat earth or not. He was just an asshole to start with, so I just block him, you know.
And it's always a ridiculous claim that requires proof. We don't have to prove that the moon isn't made of cheese. If somebody says it's made of cheese, we don't have to prove it isn't. I mean, don't be ridiculous.
That's right.
Common sense said it would be made of cheese in your mind anyway. So
Well,
why
common
would you
sense
say?
also shows that water always seeks level. We have devices we
Yeah.
use for construction. Water levels because water always seeks its own level. It lies flat as far as we can observe anywhere in a swimming pool, a lake, an ocean, doesn't matter how big. So
As long
my
as it's
thing is,
direct, yeah.
if the Earth is 70% flat water, where does the curve come into play? And I don't have to prove it's flat because it's always flat when I observe it.
Always.
Well,
Always.
according to
that-
like Craig and McToon, water always bends anyways. That's what I was told by them
Yeah, they're
last
trying
time.
to say the horizon is a curve now. What
Yeah.
what in the world are these people doing, dude?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying, Jamal. Yeah, I think yeah, numbers can mean things, absolutely, but I just don't think we should live our lives by numbers. That's for sure. You know?
For sure.
Yeah,
True that.
they're
I
definitely.
hope I didn't derail the show at all by coming on. I was looking forward to coming on someday with you anyway, and this was as good a time as any. You know.
Good. Anytime, man. You're always welcome.
Thanks, brother.
You're
Bless,
a
man.
breath of fresh air. Thanks.
Absolutely. Love your music as well. Brilliant.
Thank you, guys.
Fantastic.
Appreciate it.
There you go.
I'm gonna
To
pop
do
out.
things which you would now consider to be immoral. Yeah.
Bless you, man.
Absolutely.
So God has commanded them to do something which you now consider to be immoral, whether or not you
Hold
consider
on.
it to be immoral
Hold
because
on.
of the later developments of Christian ethics. God Himself has told us that we must abandon.
I know. I'm not saying you are, Jamal. I'm just saying I wouldn't. No, I'm not saying you are. You are living your life by numbers. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I wouldn't. I'm just saying I wouldn't live my life by numbers. It's not an accusation at all.
That's PJ's choice if
No
he wants
intuition.
to or not.
Yeah, absolutely.
That the slaughter of women and children, and by the way, when it's unnecessary in those instances to slaughter them,
Well,
is
well, I don't view it that way. This is how I view it. Let's put it this way: even in the ancient world, divine revelation comes into a primitive, barbaric world, which is full of a lot of really bad guys.
and God says, keep going.
No,
Keep
God,
it up.
God,
You're
God
doing
does not.
such a
God
good
does
job.
not. God does not say keep going. But what God does is and again, this is called trying to get the point of what is happening. There's slavery in this world, in the ancient world, and it is true. The Bible doesn't come in and go, we denounce slavery, we denounce the killing of women and children. It doesn't do
does
that.
the opposite.
It actually immerses itself into an existing, admittedly barbaric culture. And what's actually going on there with the Amalekites, the Canaanites, and so on, if you just read the Old Testament, it tells you. It has to do with the displacement of polytheism with monotheism.
That's fine.
Hold on.
That justifies the murder of
I didn't say
children
it does.
and women.
I didn't say it does.
That's what you're
I'm saying
implying.
that
Otherwise
the
you wouldn't
way
be
it
talking about
happens historically is God takes a side. The single monotheistic God, who, by the way, in the Old Testament does not act like a monotheistic God. He acts like a tribal God, right?
I would
He
agree
acts
with
like
that.
the God of only the Israelites.
But listen
And
to
so
what you're saying,
Israel's
Dinesh.
enemies...
Listen to what you just said. The God that you believe in is acting like a tribal war god.
The God of the... Yes, the God that is depicted in the Old Testament is... He goes, I'm picking the Jews. I'm choosing you.
To the extent that you're...
Michael, you're on mute if you're
Is it kind
talking.
of a shouting match?
I'm on mute.
Yeah, I was going to say you stopped it and you just never spoke. I'm like, what? What's going on?
What does he think? Like Jesus is coming back to tickle toes with feathers, like
Oh wow,
I think
wow.
he's setting creation straight is what he's doing, and they hate this shit. So they don't like it when God sets down the law.
This is
Turn
what it
into
all
a
boils
shout
down
match.
to with these people and all. I think that there's something in their life that they love more than God, and they can't accept God because they've got to then,
A lot to do with you.
life accordingly,
It's all about them. And when their life has to change, they don't want to do it.
That's it. That's it.
Don't be afraid
So
of
I'm
change.
going off topic because what went on kind of shot a little bit, but yeah, let's get to the end of this thing.
Your enemies become my
To
enemies,
the extent
right?
that your male and female slaves may come from the nations around you, from them you may buy and sell slaves. You may also purchase some of
Hey, Barbara, good to see you. Good to see you, as always.
The temporary residents living among you and members of their clan.
Sorry, dude.
See, Mr. Sidelinder's post. He said, "This is not my channel. This is." He put a link in. Really good one.
Too right. He's welcome.
Born in your town. You can bequeath them to your children as inheritable property. This is human beings, by the way. But you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly. So not only do we have, the description of slavery in the Old Testament, we have an explicit condoning instructions on how to do it and doing it based on race.
Well, I wouldn't say based on race, because
how else do you interpret?
First of all, racism is an invention of the modern
tribe.
world.
Call it tribe if you like.
Right.
Ethnicity.
These are clans.
These are
militaristic
Israelite
clans.
slaves this way, and you treat non-Israelite slaves this way. By the way that the Israelite slaves are treated, we're told in Exodus 21, if you have a male slave, they're to go free after 7 years. But if you give them a wife and they have children while they're your property, then they don't go free after 7 years, only the man does. And Exodus 21 says, but if the man decides that he loves his wife and his children and his master and wants to stay, then he can say to his master he wants to stay, at which point he's taken outside, his ear is pierced like cattle, and he becomes a slave for life. Now, by the way, female slaves aren't let go after 7 years at all in the first place. Now, I understand what you're saying when you say, okay, maybe God couldn't have abolished slavery for some reason, but at least, for example, when the male slave goes free, let his wife and children go with him.
Yeah.
Why not this simple moral improvement? There is no conceivable reason that this could not have been ordained by God, but it was not.
You have a capital argument here to be had with the rabbis, and look, there is a massive rabbinical tradition that discusses
Dinesh,
every fine
here
point,
to
as you
convince
know.
These people that the Bible is true.
But it's not my job to
I'm not a rabbi
isolate the Old Testament from the New and justify ancient battles that have no bearing. Let me put it this way:
and tell me how
if someone
the New
were to
Testament
listen to you,
this.
they would have no idea that the first anti-slavery movement in the world.
What do you mean? We're all jealous. I don't know what's even going on now. Who?
I don't get it either.
What
are you mad about, dude?
I don't know. I just look back as well. I said, Mr. Super Sidewinder and me, we know what water does. I don't know what that means. It runs. Okay.
Huh?
I don't know. No, I was just looking at the water comment. I was like, I didn't know what that meant. All right. Sounds right.
It's not you, PJ.
I don't like seeing any, like, you know what I mean? What's the word? Not discord, but enmity between you. I don't see that there should be any need for it at all. It just, I just feel a little bit awkward now.
I'll read what Jehovah's daughter said.
Driven by the Quakers and the evangelical Christians. They read the same Bible, but evidently they don't read it your way. Because if they read it your way, they would be the prime apologists and defenders of slavery. So
Dinesh,
you have to explain why you take a universal institution.
Dinesh, when did that happen?
In every culture.
When did that happen?
When did what happen?
When did that movement first get off the ground?
It's in America, it starts shortly after the Quakers get here. So the early let's put it this way, the early anti-slavery movements are about 1710, 1720.
Here's two hypotheses then. One hypothesis is that God actually didn't like slavery the whole time. It just took human beings literally thousands of years to work it out, and that just so happened to coincide with the Enlightenment. That's one hypothesis. Another hypothesis is actually that the Bible does condone slavery, and that what's going on is, I think, for example, when you look at the actual verses that are being given as justification for the Christian abolitionist movement, what kind of verses are we talking about?
Well, what I'm saying is that first of all, the Enlightenment...
It may have been Christians who did it, but they weren't, to say that they were doing it as motivated by Christianity is a different kind of claim.
It is a very significant claim because to you, the Bible exists in an interpretive tradition that has been expostulated over many centuries by Christians. They're reading that Bible. They're reading it with great care as to what it's trying to say. And the Enlightenment, far from being the origin of any of this, in fact, the racism that came out of the Enlightenment was of a species that never existed before. I mean, you think of the great philosophers like Hegel, Kant, their denunciations of blacks, for example, you'll find nothing like that in the Old Testament, leave alone the New.
And if modern Enlightenment thinkers were beholden to think that these Enlightenment thinkers were ineffable, creators of an inviolable ethic, then we'd probably have had a harder time getting rid of it, don't you think?
Well, nobody. Do you
think the abolitionist movement was helped or hindered by the existence of the verses that I've just described?
Well, I mean, I think it was hindered by them because I think that the Southern apologists of slavery appealed to those verses. To be sure, they appealed to the Old Testament verses that were pro-slavery.
Tell me where you could appeal to be anti-slavery specifically. I mean, not love your enemy,
hey, PJ?
Love your neighbor.
Yeah.
Tell me specifically,
These guys are way off topic, dude.
I know.
What's it got to do with Christ or his existence or the Gospels? They're talking about Southern slave owners justifying slavery with the Old Testament. That's insane, dude.
The debate is the Bible true?
Yeah,
But
but
still, it's still a topic a bit.
The atheist guy is just voicing all issues he's got in his own mind that this is all that's happening, you know what I mean?
Of course. And there's 10 minutes left of it, and it's Q&A. So.
They seem to think because there were slaves in Bible that debunks all Bible, or something.
Okay.
Aye.
And most of the people that were indentured slaves in the Bible were either captured during war or they wanted to be.
Yeah, willingly.
Yeah. God.
In fact, Terrell Christone was bought because keep saying the same thing. It's been happening with China. Where certain people come in and they say exact same thing all the time. I'm not sure if it's a bot or just somebody saying the same thing all the time.
The Terrell, whatever the hell is it?
Yeah.
DB, yeah.
Yeah, and some of the zeros, some of the O's are zeros
The
and
numbers, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
Powerful, yeah. Oh.
Yeah, or if it's a bot that thinks it's human.
Oh God.
Here's how I can put it. You're in a time machine. You go back to antebellum slavery in the American South.
Yeah.
And you find yourself on a plantation, and you say to the master of the house, you own a bunch of slaves. I don't think this is moral. I don't think you should be mistreating them. Where do they turn? And plausibly so, to justify what they're doing.
Well, the answer
They pull out
is
their
this.
Bible, and you can say to them, well, hold on, have you read this verse? Tell me the verse. Tell me where I can point this person in order to dispel them of their
So I
ideas
would
about
recommend to you a compendium of sermons.
Gematria, I wouldn't say water's wet. I'd say water wet stuff, but not wet itself, no. So I wouldn't say it's wet, no.
At least you're not an astrophysicist. You think that the water's not actually touching the molecules that are on your skin.
Yeah, of course.
You're not wet. That hand's not in front of your face. It's like refracted.
That's what Craig says. The knife doesn't stab you. It's the electrons around about it that do it.
Yeah, sure.
Never
Hold still.
Is it? Yeah, no, I've never been stabbed before. It wouldn't feel like electrons to me when I got stabbed and slashed.
I've been stabbed. I got stabbed in the lower abdomen. I'm pretty sure it was the knife.
Oh, okay, Matt. I thought it was meant for me because I said earlier on what I ran. You know what I mean? So I thought it was meant for me. I kind of took it as a joke, though. I took it as a joke. So no problems, man. No problems.
That were delivered by Northern preachers in the decades leading up to the Civil War. Hold on.
I want to know what the verses
right,
are.
so
I'm
going to give you their mode of preaching because the key to it is to understand how they use the Bible. It's not the way you do it. Even the Southern theologians weren't dumb enough to say they enslaved the Amalekites, therefore you can enslave this guy who's here from the Congo. No, the Southerners didn't use those arguments either. Your arguments are in a different species altogether. If you look at the arguments between the Northerners and Southerners over slavery, They were far more nuanced than that. Basically, you had to do something like this. The Northern theologians would say this: are we or are we not created equal in the eyes of God? Yes or no? Yes. Are we all equally in need of salvation? Yes. Does God therefore love us all equally and make salvation available to us all? Yes.
And then you flip over
and
the Old
all
Testament.
that being the case, so hold on. It takes a movement now to go
Too
from this
vague.
theological truth to a political application. But I don't have to prove that this is plausible because it already happened.
It's far too vague. It's
It's
far
far too vague for you. It's far from a
This,
skeptical compass. It's vague.
this always happens. This always happens.
But I'm saying millions of
you
people
hear me?
believed it.
This always
They
happens.
listened to these sermons. They acted on them.
Yeah, Rog.
Yeah, this boy's just an antichrist, dude.
Oh, he's trying to every little picky thing he can.
He's mad at the Bible. He's mad at God, dude. And he doesn't want to accept any of it. Yeah.
He's definitely got a grudge against it. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
He's talking like an antichrist now.
Oh,
That's all I got to say about it.
without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But it'll go back to the Old Testament. Like, yeah, the Old Testament was fulfilled. That's basically what we're trying to say. But he's like, oh, back to the Old Testament. Like, no.
People always do this. God was different in the Old Testament than he was in the New Testament, than he is in the New Testament. It's just, he's never changing.
Yeah.
Still the same God.
It's because people retrospectively impart their own values.
Why
onto
do
the
you
Bible.
think? Why do you think people in the North who had no stake in the matter signed up to fight the Civil War? Why did they do it?
I don't know.
You have no idea, right? You have no clue.
But I
And
don't think it's because they read the Bible. I
I'm
don't think
saying
it
that
can
they.
be. I don't think it
Do
can
you
be because they read
realize
the Bible.
to what?
Look at the sermons that are being given. Look at the language that's being used. People talk about the Exodus story, for example. You know, the enslaved in Egypt, freed by God and brought into the Promised Land. And this is a story that is favored. This is a story that's favored by abolitionists to say, look at this anti-slavery spirit of something like Exodus, leaving out the fact that when the Israelites are liberated from Egypt and trying to take the Promised Land, they do so by slaughtering, genociding, and also then enslaving the people who were already living there. They leave out that bit. Because if they kept it in, then we'd realize that God did not have an anti-slavery essence. God had an anti-Israelite oppression sentiment.
Well,
and it's in the Old Testament specifically the Israelites whose oppression he's upset with, and not only fine with the oppression of others, but mandates the oppression of others through the Israelites.
Okay, and all I'm saying is that
I got a question
there
for you
is
right
a
quick.
whole tradition.
Go on.
Yeah. What nation did Israel enslave? I've never heard of this.
No.
They conquered a land. There were nations they didn't even kill off.
Mm.
Yeah.
No.
There were certain people that God told them to eradicate, the Canaanites, because they were vile and wicked. That's what I remember. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm convinced the state Tyriel's a bot.
You got, yeah.
I think so. Same things.
That
Yeah.
involves millions of slaves, millions of abolitionist preachers, Martin Luther King. None of them, not one of them, reads this story your way.
They just don't mention it. They just...
Hello, honeymoon stitch. Good to see you. Shalom, shalom, my beloved brethren. Yeah, peace to you as well, brother.
That's quite a name, Honeymoon Stitch.
It is quite a name. I'm a bit wary in the meaning now. I'm a bit wary of bots now because
You watching who's coming in?
yeah. Good to see you if you're real.
don't mention it.
Right, but isn't the significance of a text determined by the reading and use to which it is put? Let's say, for example, there's a story of murder, and everybody who reads that story becomes a wonderful citizen, loves their family, and you're the only guy who goes, oh no, really, guys, you're all misreading the text. It's really about murder, guys. And Martin Luther King goes,
So far, so good, mate, honeymoon stitch. That sounds about right to me.
you know, no. Slaves for hundreds of years have taken consolation in the Exodus. I mean, go down, Moses, way down to Egypt land and tell old Pharaoh, let my people go. Yep. To you, this is gobbledygook, because guess what the Israelites did next? And then Martin Luther King goes...
What did they do next?
Well... My point.
Like what I would say to Martin Luther King, if I was trying to make
I agree about the description in the Bible. I'm simply saying that.
Dinesh.
A Christian book has got to be understood in the way Christians understand it. And if you come out with a quote, let's just say, for example,
don't put it in scare quotes. Like you can say, go to Pharaoh and say, "Let my people go." And if I was trying to make a theological point, I would say, "And then do what? What did they do next?" Like don't get me wrong. I am more than happy that Martin Luther King was able to make a theological case for the abolition of slavery, fine. But I would say that he was...
Not for the abolition of slavery, but for civil rights.
He was misreading the text. Yeah, you're right.
We have about 5 minutes, guys.
Not the other way around. It's like, we have to ask who's misreading the text. And let's just suppose for a moment that you could point to me, which you still haven't done, to a single verse, even in the New Testament, which tells me that slavery is a bad thing. Which, by the way, St. Paul writes in...
He didn't rebuke slavery because the slavery they were talking about was like bond servantship, bond servants, people that were like part of the family, that worked for the family, not like this different slavery from the Egyptians enslaving Hebrews.
Yeah. I can tell you this from my family history, the people on my grandmother's side that actually had slaves during that time, they came to bad terms in life and they didn't live very long. But they were hard slave driving people. They got what was coming to them.
Yeah, when you look into these plantations and that, the families have had some bad things. Like nearly all of them die. Or it's crazy.
Well, I can tell you, my great grandfather on my grandmother's side, on my dad's family, he died homeless and burned himself to death. He drank himself one night and he caught himself on fire and he killed himself like that. Yeah, but he had a plantation at one point in time and slaves and all kinds of stuff. But he ended up destitute, and he ended up burning himself to death in an old warehouse on a mattress.
Yeah, I just noticed the freeze face I got him on. It's a pretty good one, that one.
What do you do?
The freeze face that we got on the screen.
Oh.
Is he thinking? Is he confused? Is he crap?
I can't remember which. I wish I could remember which letter it is. But you'll know what I'm talking about, where he writes, "Slaves, be obedient to your masters, not just the good ones, but also to the cruel," or the froward, as the King James has it. It's like, if it were the case that even if you could, which I'd still love for you to do, point to a single verse in the New Testament that tells me that slavery is actually not so good, the fact that so obviously God is okay with it in the Old Testament means that even if you could do that, the best we're left with is that we have a text here which can say one thing on one day and another thing the next.
If you don't understand, if you don't read,
I'm sure I bribed more people than that on the way in. So.
If you don't read the Bible in the way that the Christians do, then I'm trying to understand what is you're essentially a kind of a new interpreter who's saying that, first of all, texts are always open to interpretation, right? So if I say, for example, the meaning of the Oedipus story is the quest for truth, no matter where that takes you. And that is the meaning of the Sophoclean hero. The Sophoclean hero is isolated, Antigone, Oedipus. They hold on to a truth no matter what, however unpleasant, however dangerous. It often takes them to their destruction or their death. And that is the way in which let's just say a student of ancient Greek drama, reads this work. And that is the way that the work has always been read. You come along and say, let's just say you're Sigmund Freud, and you go, no, to me, the work really means something to me different. People have a secret lust for their moms, and this is repressed. Now, it's a very interesting interpretation, but it's sort of like I'm telling you, well, no Christian reads it that way. You're like, but there it is in the text.
Sometimes, Dinesh, a genocide is just a genocide.
I'm not denying the facts as described. It's the wiping out of the Amalekites.
Yeah, as ordained by the God that you believe in.
As ordered by Yahweh.
So just to ask a direct yes or no question, I'd appreciate a direct yes or no to this. The God that you believe in is the moral author of the universe. Morally justifiably commanded the slaughter of innocent children and women. Yes or no?
In the Old Testament, yes.
There you have it. So now we've covered...
Who said they were innocent?
You brought up the universe again, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Now we've covered historical, metaphorical, allegorical, and now moral truth, and I suppose it can only be up to the audience to decide whether they think that this is true.
Fair enough. Okay.
All right, everyone, let's do a big round of applause for Dinesh and Alex. Wow.
Thank you. Sorry about the questions. Sorry. We'll be around afterwards.
No, it's all good. We do have poster printouts for all of you in the lobby, free of charge, and you can all get them signed by Alex and Dinesh. That'll be joining us in the lobby. And everyone on YouTube, thank you so much
PJ.
for stopping by to watch. I think we peaked.
Yeah.
They got merch, dude. We got to get it. Got to get a poster. They're in the lobby.
Fantastic. Well, that's the end of that debate. Anyway, there's no point in carrying on there because always we would use random plug sell us stuff and plug each other and pat each other on the back, and that was done. Oh, palsy ones again.
How did Mel Brooks said it? We make all the money off the film from merchandise.
That's it.
Merchandise.
That's the one. I thought it was a pretty good debate. My head kind of went off of it towards the end because what was going on in chat, but yeah, it's still a decent enough debate. I wouldn't say like there was a winner. You know what I mean? I don't say that in debates anyway.
It were interesting to see. Like I know they were against each other, but they're both heliocentric, so it were interesting to see. You know, that back and forth regarding creation, because
they're both walking a tightrope, dude.
Dude, that's where he certainly did struggle well.
And just to show that, like, if you have an heliocentric view and you're trying to defend creation, you're on an uphill path, like.
It's walking through mud, dude, in concrete.
That's the one. Right, let's get this video.
Speaking of merchandise, let's plug Nathan's book.
So
I want to read it. I want to see what that looks like. It's going to be a good book.
Well, I mean, yeah, I didn't even know until you told me the other day. Yeah. You got one. Well, I mean,
he kind of pulled it out. Him and 10th Man have been planning this for a while. I kind of got the undertow when they were talking about it about a year ago or so.
Got you, man. Yeah, that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting.
Those publishers. Yeah. So.
Cool. Yeah, I'd give it a read. Definitely. Why not? I mean, he certainly knows his stuff about flat Earth.
Do you know what the name of it is?
What is it?
It's called All Roads Lead to a Flat Earth.
Oh, yeah, of course. I knew that. Already. As soon as you started saying it, it dinged the dong. It rang a bell. So, yeah, again, thank you.
Name for it.
Aye. Again, thank you, everyone, for coming. It's been good seeing you. Got to play out with me and Lucky. Well, it's not me and Lucky. It's Mr. Super Sideway done Lucky. Crazy Old Soldier, I think it's called. By the looks of it. Yeah, Crazy Old Soldier. Yeah, I'll play this out and say ta-ta at the end.
Well, I've had fame and fortune. Women come knock on my door. And I've lived to the limit and probably a little bit more. There are so many stories of how I got out of control. And some say it's a woman, and others know It's my troubled soul. So like a crazy old soldier fighting a war on my own, it's me and the whiskey and the bottles. They're 10,000 strong. Why you think I'd give up as many times as I've been hit? But like a crazy old soldier, I just never know when to quit. Hey, barrooms and bedrooms, they're places, faces, and names. Yeah, one's for the pleasure, Lord knows. One's for the fame. And I tried to forget her, all of the things that we've done. But as long as there's memories, I'll just never hang up my gun. So like a crazy old soldier fighting a war on my own, it's just me and the whiskey and the bottles. They're 10,000 strong. Why you'd think I'd give up as many times as I've been hit? But like a crazy old soldier, I just never know when to quit. Oh, you'd think I'd give up as many times as I've been hit. But like a crazy old soldier, I never know when to quit.
Nice. That was beautiful.
Fantastic, isn't it? I think they're brilliant, man. I like every song I've put on, every tune. It's not always a song, but usually with Lucky Haskins, it's a song, and there's lyrics there. But even with Gabrielle, and there was another one, Larissa, I think it was. Oh, brilliant, man. There's a few more on there that I don't recognize the people, but I'm going to download and put them on the show one day. Yeah, they've all been brilliant, man. Fantastic. Mr. Super Sidewinder, love it. And bless you again, man, for supplying the music. Got an endless
When I was
supply.
younger, I tried to pick up the harmonica, and I wasn't quite that good.
No, like I say, I played a bit of guitar, not brilliant, never, just a few chords and a few little tunes. But now, like since I mashed up my wrist, it just hasn't got the movement. It would do a few chords, but only the smaller chords that you could use 3 fingers for. 4 fingers, definitely not. I'm not getting C out and I'm not getting F out. It's not happening.
I've been working too long to actually stop and pick up an instrument again. I wouldn't be as good.
That's it. I mean, yeah, but I do appreciate people who can play an instrument. And that it's brilliant, brilliant. But I've always been interested in guitar. I just was never brilliant at it. There you go. There you go.
You know James
Excellent, guys. Excellent, guys. Nice one for turning up. Nice one, panel. Nice one.
No, it is.
The viewers and people in the live chat. Good to see you as always, and always a pleasure. So got to leave it there, and I'll see you tonight on Flatters probably, or this afternoon on Michael. I don't know what time we're on, but yeah, this time.
Somewhere around 2 o'clock, sir.
2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. So guys, see you on Mike's channel.
I didn't even set it up yet, Mike, because I didn't know what time you wanted to.
About 2 o'clock's fine. 2 o'clock's fine with me, dude.
I'll be listening.
Get the dog out and get something to eat in that, then that's fine. Yeah, man. Two's good. Two's good. All right, guys. See you this afternoon in Michael's.
All right.
Bless you guys, and you'll see what the topic is. I think, did you already tell people the topic, or are you going to just leave it to?
We'll just leave it.
Leave it till you're there. Right. See you this afternoon, Michael. Bless you guys.
Okay.
You again. Here the sunset's free. It's free, indeed. And I ain't got Vicky behind me to finish it for me. Well, I have, but she's asleep. So. Indeed.
Oh, there you go. You asked for it.
I think I've just seen a little hand waving.
Yeah. Oh.
No, that's the dog's tail. Right. There, guys. Bless you. Ta-da.